Kind of talk about some of your. We'll do your rankings, some of your favorite games, then we'll do stump the host.
Awesome.
All right.
I have plenty to say, so
Oh, okay. Well, the whole thing is to let you guys talk. Let
awesome.
you guys have a turn. We'll pipe in, but if you're talkative, then just go for it. Don't feel like you're like talking too much or anything like that. Unless we're here
Awesome.
in our mid-hour two, and then we'll have to wrap it up. But
Yeah, yeah. We'll shut you up when it's time.
all right. Did you want coffee?
No, I got soda.
Oh, you made a lot of coffee.
I'll drink more. I mean,
Okay.
I only slept for like 4 hours, so
Okay. Well,
yeah.
we are going to start. Are we already? We're streaming.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're streaming. Yeah, we're ready.
We're going to start the 10 seconds of silence in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the ultimate in only putting out 4 podcasts halfway through the year, Final Fantasy podcast. I am your host, Caleb Schweiss.
I am Joseph DeGolier.
And today we have a patron on. We've got. What was it? What did we decide on? It was. So Joe's always said Rude Rose. I always thought Rud Rose. But what is it, like Rud Ross or something like that? Rud Ross?
Officially, it is Rudros.
Redress? Yeah, something. Rudros. Okay, what is that? What is that?
So it was actually when I was in high school, I was trying to come up with a handle for like all my internet characters and like game characters I would create, and I wanted something that I hadn't heard before. And there is a video game called Breath of Fire, and there's a dragon in it called the Rudra Dragon. So I kind of just took the Rudra from that and like manipulated it a bit and came up with Rudros. I was like, yeah, I've never heard that before, so there, I'll go with that.
And it's stuck.
Yeah.
Darn right.
I mean, I haven't heard of it either, so I guess it works. That's kind of the whole idea, right?
Absolutely.
I always remember, like I would get on this. It was Conflict Desert Storm on PS2, and it was like a 40-player online
The
shooter.
classic game.
It's pretty sweet. It's really terrible, but it's really fun. And I remember trying to like come up with names for myself, and I was like, dude, and I did like Caleb Schweiss 1, and it was taken. It's like,
What?
yeah, it's like, would you like to do Caleb Schweiss 2? And I'm
Someone's
like,
got a crush.
yeah, I was like, I guess, but like, it's a little awkward that I have to do this,
Did you find the other Caleb Schweiss?
No, I never saw him online or anything. I'm like, who the fuck is
Did you
this
look him
guy?
up on Facebook?
There is another Caleb Schweiss.
With a K?
It's a C.
It's a C, Caleb.
And I've asked him to friend me multiple times, and he won't do it, and it kind of bothers me.
There are like 3 other people with my name.
I feel like I remember seeing another Caleb with a K too,
Oh.
and that might have been the one that I was like trying to buddy up with, but he never
Come
accepted
on.
my thing. It's like, dude, we have the same name. Why would you not want to be friends
Probably
with
like,
me?
why you're trying to spam my account? Why is there a spam account? He doesn't even look like me.
Yeah,
It's someone else's picture.
yeah, and it's like,
What a weirdo.
I just want
Let's be friends, please.
I should next time. I'll just I'll post on his thing like the Matrix or not the Matrix, the X-Files theme. Just do. Caleb Schweiss to Caleb Schweiss.
Rude Rose, where are you from?
I am from St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis, Missouri. You still there?
Yes, sir. Yep. I
Ah.
was born and raised here, and I've gone out of town for college and some things, but yeah, this is where I live.
Nice. What St. Louis is known for the Arch?
Yes, the Arch, our baseball team, St. Louis Cardinals, St. Louis Blues, which are technically your current Stanley Cup champions. First time they won it in 50 plus years. We also have some other things we're known for. Gooey Butter Cake. We have probably one of the best zoos in the world. Forest Park is a great event hub. Yeah, there's a lot here. And it's also really good cost of living. Like, it's pretty cheap to live here, which is nice.
Okay. Well, I'll keep a lookout.
Yeah. How hard is it to get filming permits there? That's the real question.
Well, that I don't know.
Oh.
Pretty much everywhere is easy, Schweiss, except for where they film.
Oh, okay.
So, like, if you're in a film city, like Los Angeles, Austin, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, or New York City.
They're really hard.
That's where it's going to be the most difficult. Other places don't even know what you're doing, what's happening out there. No one cares.
Yeah.
It's like we drove around here with that car mount. We drove past a police car with a camera mounted on the front of the car, looking in, clearly blocking the view of the driver, and they did not give a shit.
That's true.
So
There was also that one time we were filming a short that never came out, and I had
then
a
you
gun.
had a gun, a real gun.
There was an actual gun pointed at
had-
me, and I was on the ground with fake blood everywhere. And a couple people stopped, and they're like, "Oh my God, is he okay?" And it's like, "No, yeah, we're just filming. It's okay. It's okay."
Someone stopped us when we were chasing the leading lady with a car, and they thought we were trying to kidnap her.
Oh,
And
really?
They ran us down. They were pissed, and we all had to be like, "No, it's a movie. It's a movie. It's the camera."
That's funny.
Oh yeah, that was real. Sorry, Rudro. Sorry to take it away from you.
No, by all means. I'm actually a theater student, so I've
Hey.
done stage shows and such. So I've always relate when you would talk about your directing.
Theater.
Yes, sir.
Do you like
The theater.
Do you act? Do you?
I do. I did a stage show earlier this year called "Who's in Bed with the Butler." It was like a farce comedy. I did that. I've done musicals. Yeah, I've been doing stage ever since I was in high school. That's what my degree is in from college. I have a degree in theater.
Nice. I was a theater major for about 6 months. So,
You were wise to change because it's not really that useful. But
well, I didn't realize it. Honestly, the film program was called digital media, and I did not understand that was the film program at the college I went to. So I was like
Oh, okay.
switching majors because I wanted to do film. I went from like theater to English, and then I found out, through someone else. I can't remember how I found out, but it's like, oh, there is a film school here.
Yeah.
I know I saw people with cameras, and I was like, oh God. Anyway, okay, Rudros. I've heard that you worked at the post office. You and Schweiss have some similarities there.
absolutely, that's actually how I found you guys. I was out on my mail route, and I was very bored, as I usually was, and I needed something to listen to. And I was like, I wonder if there's any good like Final Fantasy podcasts. And so I put it into Google, and yours was the first one that came up. And so I gave you guys a listen. And I want to say this was right around the time of it was like your yearly awards, or it was shortly before the Tactics review came out. So I kind of missed the whole first wave of all the Final Fantasy games. But for you guys cracked me up. Your personalities and humor was just hilarious, and you clearly had a strong knowledge of the series, which is something I really care about. So I was like, well, these guys are great. So I would just listen to you out on my mail route, and then I would hear that like you like Theater Joe, and Caleb would be like, yeah, working for the post office. I was like, well, that's me. I work for the post office.
Oh my God. Both of our lives are horrible right now.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I was like, he understands. He knows my pain.
I thought I was the only one never sleeping. It turns out I'm not.
Did you have to start doing like the midnight shifts first, and then?
No, so I was a CCA, which is a city letter carrier or city carrier assistant for those who don't know. So basically, I was a mailman, except they didn't have to give me benefits or any of the good stuff. They could just abuse me and put me on overtime. But I worked during the day, and I would usually work like 10 hours a day, sometimes usually 6 days a week, until I finally made career. And then I eventually moved to a straight 8 shift because I was just so sick of the overtime. Like, to me, it wasn't worth it. I much more value my free time than the money.
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you with that last statement there. I much more value my free time than the money.
Absolutely. Like, man, yeah. Like some people there, like there's a mentality at that place of people who just they live to work. Like that is I come in and I go to work and they don't know what to do with themselves on vacation. Whereas I'm like, man, it is just a paycheck. It is their means to an end so that I can enjoy my life outside of it.
Yeah. I'm the opposite. I mean, I'm not the... I don't live to work necessarily, but I will work as many hours as they will let me work.
I was teasing that out of you, Rudros, because we've had a very long conversation earlier this week.
Yeah.
about the meaning of work in everybody's lives over here at Geekdom. But
oh yeah.
yeah.
Some just don't care about it at all. And then there's a good balance that I think maybe Joe kind of has more than me, where it's like you want to work but you don't want it to be your whole existence. Although your side projects I would consider work. So at the same time it's like,
I mean, yeah, I'd like to.
it's kind of all work.
I'd like to give them the work effort or the work time at least. So Rudros, how did you find Final Fantasy?
Final Fantasy. So when I was a wee one, maybe about
So
6 or
hold on.
7.
You cut off for a second. You said when I was a weeb, and then you cut off.
Sorry, when I was a wee one, as in a small child.
Oh yeah, the wee one.
I want to say I was maybe 6 or 7. I don't remember, but my mother worked for the school district, and I don't quite understand how she got these, but basically Square Enix would send out games to like certain educational places, and so she was actually able to bring home like free copies of SquareSoft games.
What?
And so, yeah, I know. I don't understand how it worked, but hey, not complaining.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
Square Games.
Yeah, man.
Scholastic or
Education.
something.
The education system was sweet when you were in
Right?
school.
I know. So so one of the games she brought home was a copy of Final Fantasy 3, which was of course technically 6, but I didn't know that at the time, so I saw it as 3. And I booted it up and kind of just fell in love with it. And it's really funny. When I would play through 6, like the particular copy we had a glitch in it where I couldn't get past the floating continent. So every time we'd get to the floating continent, like it would erase the save data. So kind of in my head, I was like, oh, I guess that's as far as the game goes.
The end
Like
of the
you
game
just
right there.
Yeah. That's a really
Right?
weird
So-
finale. I don't understand.
right? Yeah, I was so confused, but either way, I fell in love with it, and it's so funny because as a kid, I would kind of let my imagination run wild, and I liked this game so much. I was like, what if they make like Final Fantasy VIII one day, and it's gonna have all the characters from 6, except there's 8 of each one, and like so every spell has 8 versions. So there's like fire 1 through 8, and then all the summons have 8 versions. So there's 8 versions of Shiva, and like Sabin, like because he's my favorite character. When he uses his blitz, he has like 8 aura bolts. I was like, oh, it'll be so crazy. I was like, but that's gonna be so far in the future. They're only on 3, and then I hear about 7 like a little bit later. I'm like, what? 7? I was so confused. I was like, but we're on 3. What happened to the other 3? Okay. I was like, well, shoot, my whole 8 idea just went down the toilet.
No,
But
your 8 idea, actually, they figured it out by about 13. They're like, we're going to have 13 chapters.
right.
Yeah.
Because it's the number 13. Oh, God. All right.
It's going to feel like 13 years every time a cutscene starts.
Yeah.
But it's actually only 13 minutes and 13 seconds.
Right.
So you were on to something, believe it or not.
I never knew. I'll have to go back and tell my younger self somehow. And so after that, once I got a play, and honestly, that was I had a Super Nintendo originally, but because Final Fantasy went to PlayStation, I followed it there. I was like, well, that's what I want to play, so I bought a PlayStation, and pretty much haven't looked back since. I've had a PlayStation 1 through 4 at this point, and yeah, I've just really fell in love with Final Fantasy, the characters, the series, the music, everything about it. Currently, I actually actively play the Final Fantasy trading card game, which I just discovered about a year ago. And so like there's this local group that plays at this little game store near me, and we haven't been able to play lately because of the virus, and so I've gone up there and I've really gotten into the card game, and it's so much fun just getting to kind of play with all these characters. And funny thing, one of the guys who plays it, he reviewed one of your episodes once when I was listening. Yeah, his name's Cody Snod, and you were reading a review from him. I was like, could that be? And so next time I saw Cody, I was like, hey, do you know Ultima Final Fantasy? He was like, oh yeah, Joe and Caleb, I love them. I was like, dude, I listen to them all the time. And so it kind of made another little bond like that. So yeah.
That's really weird. Yeah, I've never heard of that happening.
No,
I mean, it
Right?
happens all the time.
hold on. No, it happened with Timo.
Oh, really?
Timo was in. I think he was in Missouri, actually.
Was
That's
he?
crazy.
Man, it's
yeah.
gotta check our Missouri
No,
download.
he was
Killing
doing.
it.
He was doing like a. I don't know if it was a Shakespeare festival or something over there, as a
We do.
costumer.
Yeah, we have a Shakespeare, usually yearly Shakespeare festival. It's pretty popular.
My best friend from childhood worked over there as a costumer, and he met another costumer who was like a Final Fantasy fan, and then weirdly he was going through our episodes at that time, and like it brought up our show, and Timo was like, I know that guy. Weird connections there.
That's really weird. Yeah, that's what I want to hear. That's crazy. Like I've never. That just seems so bizarre to us.
And then Timo was like texting me. That's what he was doing. He was texting me, and then I was like, "Oh God!" And that's what I put at that, like, "Oh God!" ... And apparently that's the guy who was like, that sounds like Joe."
Yeah, it's like
Sounds like something he would say.
don't give any details away.
Gentlemen, your reach extends far.
It does.
Apparently, yeah.
Oddly so far. We got
I mean, it kind of
little piece of pie.
it makes more sense for you because you guys are playing the trading card game. But
That's
for,
true. Yeah.
Right.
That's deep.
Yeah, the Timo thing is like, wow, really? That's random.
It is, well, it's both Missouri. That is also it might be it might be similar circles.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what's
maybe.
weird. I should ask who that guy was.
Maybe it's his friend. Maybe it's the guy he met. Oh my God. So he does.
Well, that's what I first thought.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Cool.
So
yeah.
you
Yeah.
went from FF6. You got a PlayStation. You played 7, I assume. Have you
I
just
did,
gone
yeah.
on with the series linearly since?
Yes, I have played all the mainline, except for I've played a little bit of 11, but I haven't played enough to the point where I'd consider like, oh, I know that game well, or I've played it a whole lot. When we get to my rankings at the end, I actually have 28 games I've got listed. So like,
Oh,
I am.
God. Okay.
I am a Mondo Final Fantasy fan. Like, if you could see my downstairs room, I've got all the Square Enix, like, Chocobo pillows, the Moogle pillows. I've got so many of the action figures up on my shelf. I have some of their tabletop board games. My girlfriend
Tabletop
recently...
board games?
There's a Cacpot Party one of the Gold Saucer, and there's, like, a Chocobo Party Up game
Yeah.
as well.
There's a Chocobo dungeon game, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So you're saying we have to come to Missouri and play these games with you and then review them? Right?
Yes, oh, please, absolutely. Dude, I am, like,
Right.
a big... I am a big Final Fantasy fanatic, and so that's why I loved your guys' podcast so much. Was that, you know, first of all, your name Ultima Final Fantasy, but you really had like, wow, you have gone through all the games. Like, you can actually talk about the series in a very knowledgeable way, and not just like, I played the one. And...
We can do it in broad strokes. There are people who know the games like crazy. Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. It's a different view on those. Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead,
it's
Rick.
always
Okay, yeah.
no, it's been great. It helped me in school sometimes too, because there were terms that I would learn. Like, I remember I was in second grade, and there was a term in one of the Final Fantasies that our teacher had asked us, like, here's a new vocabulary word. Does anyone know what it means? And nobody knew, and I raised my hand. I was like, oh, I know that from my video game. It's this thing. And they're like, oh, wow, very good. So it's kind of just helped me broaden my imagination, and yeah, it's just something I've always really strongly cared about and have, you know, pretty much loved ever since. That's not to say I'm a fanboy. Trust me, I've got plenty of criticisms for plenty of the games, but
Okay.
I definitely have strong affection for the series.
Are there any other video game series that come close or
Um,
exceed it? Maybe I don't know.
Gosh, it's hard to say because Final Fantasy is so expansive. Like, I love the Uncharted series, I love Sly Cooper, I love Jak and Daxter, Ratchet, but those are so much smaller in comparison to Final Fantasy. But I really love those. I love God of War. I like all the God of War games. So there's definitely other stuff that I do very much enjoy, but nothing to the level that, you know, Final Fantasy has affected me.
Well, what is it about Final Fantasy you think?
So
That you're-
the music is obviously stellar. Uematsu is a world of his own. Part of it could very much be nostalgia, because it was kind of the first video game I ever played. Like, technically Mario was the very first one I
you hit
played.
it at the right time.
Yeah, maybe it really just influenced me so much because I was so young. But in particular, like, I've always just been a really, like I said, I'm a theater person, so I've always been a really creative artist type. And there is a level of detail in these games that, at least at the time, I didn't notice from a whole lot of other places. Like, for example, something as simple as Cloud's animation when he casts magic versus Squall's. Like, they're different. I know that's minor, but, like, you know, Cloud tilts his sword down, swings it around, puts it on his back, and slams his fist together. Whereas Squall puts his gunblade behind his back, puts his hand to his face, and then pushes it outward. Like, I know that sounds kind of weird, but again, as a theater guy and as an actor, it's like, oh, okay, like, there's a difference there, and so it stood out to me, and it made me want to, like, imitate it, and so I think it all just kind of fed my mind together like that. And you had just these great visual images from all these games and these wonderful, fantastical storylines. You know, just starting with 6, you have this continent that rises out of the ground, and all these, you know, all the people are falling off the edges, and then you have these creatures that you summon, and then they come in for this really powerful attack, and then they disappear. And you have these wonderful things called chocobos. I kid you not, when I was in 3rd grade, I actually asked my father, I was like, Dad, can you build me a chocobo? Like, one I could ride to school?
Then he was like, then he beat you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appropriately. No son of mine's gonna be talking about those chocobos.
It's bad enough he's doing theater.
Yeah,
Right?
talking about those big yellow birds, boy. Yeah, Jack
Oh, man.
really resonated for him.
Right? I know. Yeah, no.
God, it's so true, isn't it? He's just a dick.
I'd have to pull the Titus line and be like, Dad, I hate you. Sitting there sobbing tears. No, he was very
He
supportive
doesn't
of it.
say,
And,
I hate you. He goes, I hate you. He says it really fast because his lip sync is to, oh my God. All right.
yeah. I hate you. Yeah, it's that really, I hate you.
It's like, I'm glad I had subtitles on that scene. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Right? No, I mean, I'm super into comic books and all that nerd stuff, and so like I'm really big into Marvel and DC, and like I grew up watching the X-Men animated series and Spider-Man, so I think it was just kind of the right game at the right time, and just really influenced me. And again, because there was so many coming after that, and it was also such a great time for the series, because like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like those are some of the best ones in the series. So maybe like had I started with 1, maybe it wouldn't have hit me as hard. But again, starting with 6 and 7, it's just you have these just fantastic games that when I would play other games, you could just tell there was such a difference in quality of like, wow, like Final Fantasy is way better than this thing. So yeah, I think it was just this combination of factors that just really solidified it for me.
Yeah, were you one to, I know you had problems finishing Final Fantasy VI, but one of the big reasons why Joe and I even created the show largely was because we had a bunch of these games. We had purchased a bunch of these games, and we had beaten like 3 of these games. And so it was always something where it's like, oh man, and it was weird because I played 7. Me and one of my buddies were getting really into 7, and then I just bought 8 when I had earned enough money from doing like chores and stuff, and I barely got far in 8 because 8 was brutal. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And I was just like, it was something that I had in my mind that I was like, I really want to get all of these games, even though I've only finished, before we started the show, I had finished like maybe 4 or 5 of the Final Fantasy games, maybe 6. Was that kind of how you approached it? Because I know you said you couldn't beat 6 for a long time.
Well, so I am the youngest of 3 siblings. I have an older sister and an older brother, and my brother especially really liked the games as well. So that was another thing. It was kind of a way for us to bond. And he is about 6 years older than me. So like when 8 came out, he was at the point he had a job, he had money, so he bought 8. So like he could buy all these new games, and so he would play it, and then I would play it, and so we kind of like helped each other out. And we had the strategy guides too, which made a world of a difference, especially with no internet back then.
I think the strategy guide destroyed me in 8, but go ahead.
Oh, really? That's funny.
I don't think.
Yeah. So.
Oh my God.
So it took some doing, but I was actually able to beat all the ones that we faced us. I will say 8 was probably the toughest, and I didn't even know about the whole
strategy guide.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Well, I didn't know about the monster
The
leveling
first
thing
thing you
even
do
with the
is
guide.
throw the guide away. That's it.
Right? Yeah, it doesn't tell you that. But no, I was able to beat all of them, and then going back and doing some of the. Actually, I struggled a lot more with the earlier ones than some of those later ones. Like 1 through 5 gave me way more trouble than probably some of the later ones did.
I think that they are generally more difficult, except for 8.
Yeah. I think about the time of 5 to 6 is when they kind of got a bit easier, or maybe just easier to exploit. I'm not 100% sure, but
Yeah, 5 is easy to exploit, and 6 gets
Yeah.
away
I think
too.
6 is just an easier game. There's definitely some difficult parts of 6, but it's an easier game. 7 is easy outside of the super bosses.
right.
8 is fucking hard. 9 is
9's really
really
balanced.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's fun, so it's not like you're wiping the floor with everything and
Yeah.
there's nothing going on in 9. Okay. All right. So, what do you so we've been mostly talking about the older games. What do you think of post FF11?
Yeah. What do you think about the series as it is from then and then even now?
So what you guys said in your rankings, and I think Caleb, you said Joe turned to you after you finished Final Fantasy X, and he said that was the last great Final Fantasy, and
Yeah.
that is 100% true. After 10 or 11, once Uematsu left and Sakaguchi left, and basically the studio became Square Enix, you could definitely tell there is a big shift in quality. Like 12 and 13, I think are on a much lower level than like 7, 6, 10, and those are. And 14 now is one of my favorite games because it's such a fan game and it's got such great nostalgia. But when that launched, that was a complete disaster.
Yeah.
And
Oh boy.
so so
Man,
so there's
they
definitely
had the double whammy because 14 came out like 9 months after 13.
it
So
did,
13
yeah.
came out, it was a hit, but people hated it. And then 14 came out and it was both people hated it and it was not a hit. It was a dud. Oh man,
You know,
poor
s-
Square Enix.
s- I think I saw maybe on one of your Twitters that you said, "Who would you like to direct Final Fantasy 16?" And the best response I saw was someone who just said, "Someone who cares about it." And it's like, yes, 100%, because I don't know if it's the like corporate AAA culture, but back then they were cranking those games out and they were very good to great. But now they take so long. I mean, 13 came out. No, 12 came out in 2006. 13 came out in 2010. 15 came out in 2016. Like, why is it taking them so long to put these games out? And then they're not even to the quality of the old ones anyway. So I just don't, like, I would much rather have them focus, make a game, don't make a brand new Crystal Pringles engine for it, just give it a solid art style and just have, a nice solid story, like, and crank it out in 2 years. Like this, I haven't played the 7 remake yet. I listened to your review and I know all about it, but I haven't played it. But that was announced in 2015 and it took them 5 years to release
To release a
to
third
release
game.
Midgar. Like, how is that okay? What are they doing? Like,
Did
it
they
drives
really
me
announce it in
nuts.
2015?
Yeah, that's when they showed the trailer at E3. It was at the Sony press
God
conference.
damn.
God damn it, Square.
Isn't that insane?
Well, what's also crazy is like FF12, it had the world record when it came out. Obviously, it's been destroyed. The record's been destroyed by like Deus Ex and Diablo 3. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
when 12 came out, it was the longest development time for a game ever.
It was like 6 years.
It was
yeah.
6 years.
Because they started.
Yeah.
They started 11, 12, and 13 like almost around the same time, I think, or maybe 10. No, I think it was 12 and 13 they
It was
had going.
10, 11, and 12. I think they
Okay.
had like a triple announcement kind of thing for.
And 12 just took forever.
I think so. You'd have to listen
It
to
was
old
it
episodes.
was one of those. They were working on multiple titles, and that was the one that took forever. Yeah.
12 was the one who.
That's a long time. 6
But
years is a long
and
time.
they're getting
Yeah.
even longer than that.
Yeah,
That's what's crazy.
6 years is
15 being
nothing.
10 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Ooh.
And it's like 15, and like I like 15, and you'll see where I rank it later. But like, it's not even complete when they release it. They've got to release all these extra episodes and this new updates. And yeah, a good chunk of those were free, but still, it's like, I just hate it. Like, I hate modern gaming for that. That you don't even get a complete game anymore. I mean, it's kind of part of the reason I haven't bought the 7 remake is because I'm sorry, that bothers me. That like, you're gonna take 5 years to produce a part of the original game. Like, I'm glad everyone liked it, and it sounds like it's really fun, but I just couldn't believe how many people were okay with that. It's like, that's bogus, man. Like, we used to get the full game back in the day. Like, I know I sound like an old man yelling at the clouds, but I still remember that. I remember getting a full game of 7 and like it's completed, and there weren't these patches, and there weren't these day one DLCs where you turn on your PlayStation and you got to sit there and wait for a download for an hour. Like, you just played it, and so call me nostalgic, but I'm not a big fan of them as of late.
I think it's definitely a combination between like the series is now so big that if they screw up royally like they did with 14, like it's a real big problem financially.
Right.
And also, it's one of those situations, they talk about this in film, and I think it's going to be the same with video games. Every time there's a new technology, like every time there's some like new little thing you can do graphically or with the physics engine with a game, let's say, or sound or whatever, all these cool like new things, that's another couple positions that they have to hire for. And the project just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it's super expensive to make, and now they take forever. So when you're talking about, like they only had 7 people work on FF1, they only had like 15 people make FF6.
Yeah.
It's it just every time you add more, every time these games have to be at a certain quality to be considered AAA, in which Final Fantasy has always been. It's always trying to be the peak, at least graphically and in terms of storytelling, and they try at least. That means, it's just going to get as it's just going to be even longer than a regular AAA title coming out.
Yeah,
Right.
so I mean, what? So all right, so yeah, a lot of people kind of feel that way about the series in recent years. One of the things that I've been bringing up lately when I'm talking to other people is like it feels like they get, and I don't know if maybe this is just me hyper obsessing over this, but like the camera feature in 15, like how
Yes.
Capcom would take pictures. It seems like whenever they get something that's like that, they have to do that in every game because like Kingdom Hearts 3 has like its own thing where it's like, oh, look at all these photos, and like,
Right.
Does Goofy have a camera on his?
yeah, something.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, son.
That's a good angle.
Yeah.
Mickey comes in. Sora, make sure to get my good side.
Yeah.
Excuse me while I put a filter on the lens.
Yeah.
Need to get proper exposure. Sorry, dumb joke. Go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, it seems like they get these things, and I don't know, and it bothers me because it's like I get quality of life like increases, like this made the game better, and then we should continue doing that. Like something where, you know, the 7 remake kind of took what they did with 15 and they kind of made it a little bit more turn-based, but still very action oriented, and I think that's an improvement. But it seems like sometimes they get these good ideas that were good once, and then they obsess over the idea. They're like, no, now we have to have photo mode. And it's weird
Right.
because I see people online like, well, this game had photo mode. How come 17 doesn't have photo mode? It's like not everything has to have everything
You
from
can
the
do
one
screenshots
before.
Right.
of PS4
That
natively,
too, yeah. It's like, and to me, it almost feels
15,
like,
it was part of the story though. They wrapped it up with the cutscenes.
yeah.
Yeah, they definitely don't need to
And I-
bring
and
it
I-
on to other stuff.
I loved finishing the game with the picture of Cindy's big tits.
I know.
That was hilarious. Like him and you know, spoilers, him and her like sitting there dying, and then he like pulls out this photo of Cindy's busty tits. It's like,
And Luna Freya smiles at it. She's like,
Yeah.
oh, this.
I remember the good
We're
times
gonna
with
be
Cindy.
like this eternally.
Yeah. She's like, you son of a bitch. His last moments, he's like, yeah, I totally like her more. God, how could you deny that? Look at that tiny coat. How does she even put it on? That's what I want to go into the afterlife thinking about, because that's the only place I'll have enough time to figure it out. After I'm fucking dead.
Which arm goes first?
Exactly, yeah. How
Does
does
it
that...
zip up in the back? I bet it zips up in the back.
It's gotta, yeah. And then, like, does her dad help her put it on? Like, he's the only one around.
Grandpa.
Yeah.
Sid's like, hold on, Cindy. I'll come get it for you.
Yeah, he's got to put down his like 40 cigarette tube thing that he smokes every day. He's got like 40 cigarettes attached to one thing, and he's just like puffing these billows of smoke. Hang on, girl, I got to take one more hit.
Oh, goodness.
So, what are we talking about? Talking about
The evolution of
the later Final Fantasy.
yeah, the later Final Fantasies and Square obsessing over little things.
Well, and you know what, Caleb, you might be right in the sense that, like, even though I would be satisfied with a more, like, return form, you know, more just simpler Final Fantasy, you probably would have people who are like, oh, well, why doesn't it have this feature? Or where is this? And it's just, and maybe they feel like they're stuck in this place where, like, well, we can't please everybody, so we don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's like, I just wonder if 20 years from now, are these games going to be good like the ones 20 years from today?
exactly.
And it's like, oh, this game's really cool because it does these like 3 things that no other game I've ever seen does. But then it'll become, oh, well, this game had it, but it was just shittier. And like I feel like 10-2 is what we did. What we did to 10-2, our experience with 10-2. Once we played 13-2 and Lightning Returns, it's like, yeah, the 10-2 battle system's fun, but these are way better than 10-2's battle system.
They just
So
didn't
there's
sell as well.
yeah, there's like no reason to play 10-2.
No one knows.
Yeah.
We just have to keep on proselytizing about it. On
Exactly,
Our podcast.
yeah.
Like, you got to play 13-2 and 13-3 just
Yeah.
for the gameplay.
Yeah, and it's like, and then that's what I always hear is like, no, 10-2 is one of my favorites to play. It's like, well, yeah, if you never played, you know, these other 5 games that I think are way funner, and they're similar too in their execution. So I feel like it's, I don't know, maybe I wonder if like I said, in 20 years these games will be great, or if they'll just be lesser versions of what they're making, you know, right now.
I personally would be fine with a return to form of either like the active battle system or the controlled battle system, something more turn-based. Like, I know everything lately is so action-oriented, but because of that, it's kind of just made me even more like longing. Like, man, I wouldn't mind just like a turn-based system again. So I personally would love to hear that 16 is like, no, we're gonna do like a traditional turn-based RPG.
I think they're stuck in the action now. I think
You
those
think?
turn-based things are going to be for the handheld markets, which they have continued to do. You said you have 28 games on your ranking list, so I assume you've played some of those.
I do, yeah. Some of
Yeah.
those will be on there.
Yeah, so and it's odd because like Dragon Quest IX, I think was a DS only game, right?
You think that's the one?
Yes,
And,
I think
and-
so.
And that's freaking crazy to me that one of their top 3 selling series, they just decided they're like, we're going to put this on the secondary, or what I would consider the secondary system.
Yeah.
That's nuts to me. But they did it. And that's kind of like, well, Dragon Quest stays traditional as far as I know. I don't know about 11 or 10. But as far as I know, like Dragon Quest generally staying traditional. They're like Megadeth. They don't change their sound that much, okay? But Metallica always adapts. That's why Metallica will always be on top. But at the same time, Metallica has to take risks that Megadeth doesn't, and they might alienate their fans more. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I half-formed thought, but that's kind of how I think about that. Final Fantasy has got to be AAA, and if they're going to be AAA, you lose some of that. You lose that turn-based thing. I don't think 16 is going to be turn-based.
I don't know though, because I don't know if you've played Persona 5, but Persona 5 is a fantastic game, and that has a turn-based system. So I think people get caught up on that, and the reality is like if you have a great story and an imaginative world and characters and such that are memorable, it will stick with you, like regardless of what the combat is action or not. Like if all of that's why those games are still great to this day, because all of those parts came together to make just this fantastic whole.
Yeah.
Well, Rudrose, I'm on your side.
Oh yeah, sorry, that wasn't like me attacking.
I'm on your side.
Advocating.
Don't worry. I just don't think Square Enix is willing to take that risk.
Yeah.
Unless they were to like half the budget of 16.
Right. No, you're probably right. They probably won't.
Yeah. So let's what do you think of the Final Fantasy movies? Real quick before we go into
Which-
other things.
Which one?
All of them.
Just the movies. Have
What
you
have you
seen
seen?
Have you seen the 5 movie? Let's start with that one. Let's start with
That one I have not seen.
Okay, all right. You're not missing much. Not that you're missing much.
A lot of leather.
I've seen Kingsglaive and Advent Children.
All right. What are your thoughts?
So I just watched Kingsglaive the other day because a bunch of 15 characters came out for the card game, and I didn't remember Kingsglaive, and so I went back and watched it. And my thoughts pretty much are the same as the first time I saw it, which is like visually it's very beautiful, and some of the action is very creative. I particularly like how they use the blink strike, the warp strike, where they throw the dagger and they boop and pop right to it. That being said, like it's just I don't know, man. Like I'll mention this on some of the games. It's like they forgot how people talk to each other.
Yeah.
Like the way some of these characters interact with each other is just so strange. It's almost like they have an idea and they just talk at the other person about this idea without actually like listening to what they say in response.
Yeah, I think that might be why the most relatable and best character in there is that like nationalist cop guy that's like super
Right?
he just hates the immigrants and he's like he's the only one. He's the only good character in the whole movie. It's like the moment where they're like, "You can't blink strike to us," and he just starts doing like a drive by on those guys.
Right.
Yeah, it's the only good guy here.
I
Yeah,
want you to
yeah.
preface. I want you to preface before you critique any of this stuff having to do with like lines or you're talking about how they forgot how to talk to each other. I need you to preface with, "I'm a trained actor, as a trained theater professional."
I can do that. Okay, well let me do that for Advent Children. So
Please do.
again, same thing with Advent Children. It's very visually pretty. Some of the action sequences are fantastic. Like I'll never forget that part when Kadaj turns into Sephiroth and Cloud hits his sword and it goes boom and there's this flash of light and you see the white hair extend and he's hello Cloud. It's like, oh, it's Sephiroth. So like that's all cool. But again, there's also this random wolf that shows up to Cloud in dreams. I'm like, okay, what is that? And there's as a trained theater professional, I'm not sure what to think when Tifa Lockhart says, "Dally dally, shally shally."
Shally. Like that's a saying.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. As if we're all supposed to. Oh, of course, dilly dally, shilly shally. Why didn't I think of that? Like,
Yeah, it's like her and Reno are the only two assholes in this world that know what the fuck that
right?
I
guess-
What?
Well, and here's my thing too, and it kind of goes into that argument with like Final Fantasy nowadays. Like, quit wasting money on these movies. They're fine, but that's not what we're coming for. Like, take all that development time and money that you put into Kingsglaive and finish 15 in the first place.
Yeah.
And then if 15 does well, then do a little like movie sequel.
Exactly.
Because Advent Children was a success. I think that's obviously why they did Kingsley, but
Right.
that was not a success.
Yeah.
That made $1 million, I think.
Maybe. I think I still believe my theory of the only reason why they did that and they did the whole 15 rollout is to justify the 7 remake. It's because they wanted to make it so big that because they had said for years, we won't remake Final Fantasy VII until we have a game that surpasses it in quality and in sales. And they made it such a big fucking thing that they wanted it to do both. And I don't know. You could argue the quality, I guess, but the sales you can't argue. 7 still outsold 15. But 15's a big game. I just think they really, really, really wanted to justify remaking 7, and it didn't work. And they were like, you know what? We can do whatever we want, so we're just going to do it anyway.
And I mean,
it sold well.
How many times have you guys covered what the Spirits Within did to the company? And I've seen that movie, and I was excited when I first heard about it. It's like, wow, a Final Fantasy movie, and then you watch it, and like, it's fine for what it is. And again, visually at the time, it was pretty incredible, but it has nothing to do with Final Fantasy.
No,
So,
oh my gosh, no, nothing at all. There's a character named Sid in it.
right, yeah, it's like, oh, okay, as if I'm gonna hear that and clap my flippers like a seal.
It's co-directed by Hironobu Sakaguchi, and it's got that photorealistic 3D thing. It's the first movie to do that.
Right.
So it does have a place in movie history, oddly enough.
But then it cost them to be Squaresoft, and they had to merge after that. Like,
it's in that weird segment of movie that no one likes still, but they still make one every other year. That's like
Right.
a weird 3D thing, like Polar Express,
Yeah.
Christmas Carol. I guess Robert Zemeckis is the one who's obsessed with it because that's and Beowulf.
Yeah.
God damn it! Stop doing that. All right.
So yes, the movies are fine, like in their own little bubble. But if they're at the cost of the games, like, get them out of here. What are you doing?
Yeah, $120 million. That's almost as much as 7 cost.
Right.
Like, you could have had another one of those. I'm sure there's a million like really creative people at Square Enix that, you could give them a good team on there, a few $1 million and a couple years of development time, you might come up with some interesting stuff. But no, you're going to spend $120 million on one movie or $60 million on another movie.
Right.
You're not even going to make your money back on Kingsglaive.
Yep.
Yeah, no way.
No.
Nor should they. But all right, so we got the main lines, the movies. What about like spin-off sequels?
What are your
stuff like
favorite
that?
spin-offs?
So I don't know if I should jump into my rankings because I've got a couple of them on here, but or maybe I should just say what some of them are. So some of the ones I've got on my list, I've played all the 13 trilogy. I've played 10-10-2, World of Final Fantasy, After Years, Mystic Quest. I have also played, I've played the main console Kingdom Hearts games. I've played Chrono Trigger. I've played Secret of Mana. So even though I know you guys did them for the podcast, I think that's really cool. I don't really consider those Final Fantasy games. They're kind of Final Fantasy only in small tie. But I love Secret of Mana. I love Chrono Trigger. I really like Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. 3 I was not a very big fan of. And then some of the other ones on my
Everybody's
list.
down on 3. I'm scared to play it now.
Well, okay, so no this isn't really a spoiler, Joe, but there's no Final Fantasy characters in it. It's all Disney focused, which is so weird
There's
because
none?
because they were such a big part of 1 and 2. There's no Final Fantasy in there.
I mean,
It's just
Squall and Aerith were like part of the team.
they're not in there. Nowhere to be found.
I'm flabbergasted. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm sure you'll find out your 3. And again, it's one of those games they just feel disposable. 3 was fine to play. The combat is fun, but I don't remember much about it after I put it down. It didn't stick with me.
Oh, god damn it! All right.
I hope it's better for you.
Man, I hope it is too. I just want to like things. I always have that thing where I didn't like something, but someone else out there likes it, and I have to remember that person's happier than I am.
Yeah.
That person is living a life in which something that brought me some form of like frustration or misery, brought them joy. Like someone who likes Kingsglaive.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like they wasted their time. We've had to watch it 3 times now for the show. And they'll enjoy it. They have a better life than I do. That's just it. They're happier.
I've watched it 4 times.
If it makes you feel better, your misery with that movie has influenced me in a positive way in that there is a trading card of the character Libertus, and I call him the Pill Popper because of you guys.
Nice. Did you hear our
So-
our KupoCon episode where we talked to that guy?
I didn't get to. No, what was that like?
Oh, I talked to him about that thing and about how dumb I thought that subplot was, and he was like, "Oh yeah, they deleted an entire scene that was like, or like a chunk of scenes that was him like slowly getting more and more addicted or something like that, like more scenes that made it make sense that they were giving him shit for taking pain pills."
Instead of him just being like,
Yeah, because I asked
just
him, I was
shaming
like,
him for taking pay pills
Yeah.
after his leg was destroyed.
I was
As
like,
far
what's-
as I could tell, 4 days ago.
yeah, I was
Right.
like, what's up with this subplot in this movie where like you're some junkie for taking aspirin? Like, seems a little harsh from these guys. Like, they feel like they're a little bit of a little bit of ingratitude going on for
Right.
Liz here. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, there was like a bunch of other shit in there that they just cut out." And I was like, "Oh well, that sucks." But that's also kind of one of my favorite parts, I guess. But maybe it's the unexplained nature of it that makes it so
Right.
good. It's like, why are these guys calling him out? It's like that doesn't look
awesome.
like morphine or like some hard drug. It looks like a bottle of fucking bear, you know?
Right.
Aspirin. He's like, yeah, it hurts real bad, real bad. I could roll it up like a fucking flesh fruit roll up when I got done with that thing. Like, you don't think I could have a few aspirin for my?
Said 5 tons crush my leg.
Yeah, just casually rolls onto him, and he's just like, "Oh my god!"
It was a pancake. They had to use spatulas to get it off the ground.
Yeah,
His Kingsglaive are like, just put some Robitussin on that. You'll be fine.
They're a rough crowd. It's a rough crowd.
Yeah, they don't. God, they don't have any mercy there.
Well, let's get into those rankings, I guess.
Yeah, let's do it.
You got it. Okay, so quick preface. Obviously, I haven't played every game in the series, so like 11 won't be on here because I've only briefly
Oh.
touched it.
I see you're not a real Final Fantasy fan.
Right? I know. Woe is me. Some of these I've played multiple times, but some I've only played once, so that may affect the ranking. And some I've also played long ago. I haven't played recently. And of course, there's some different tiers, which such as closer to each other. But anyway, I'll get into it, and some will have more to say about than others.
I mean, yeah,
So-
you can get into it while you're ranking them.
Number 28 is Dirge of Cerberus. It's on the bottom.
Have you played Dissidia NT?
Yes, that is right above it.
Okay. I thought some people were like, I can't believe you guys put Dirge of Cerberus below NT. I think I remember reading that a couple times, and I'm like,
I can.
man, they're pretty close.
I honestly, it's been so long since I played Dirge of Cerberus, I don't remember much about it. I just remember the characters were really weird, and the dialogue was terrible, and the storytelling was awful. And I don't remember the gameplay being very good, so that's why it's
not.
at the bottom.
Gameplay's awful.
Yeah, and
God.
every character is
Did not
named
age
after
well.
a color too, which is annoying. Like
Oh, man.
Weiss, and then the one girl, whose name I can't remember, but I think it was like blue.
Shulk or something.
Shulk, yeah, maybe she wasn't, but there was like a bunch of bad guys that were named after colors, and I'm like, God, I don't know why they would do that for this game. Like, why would you think about it more than 10 seconds? Like,
Yeah.
all right, so Dirge at the bottom.
Dearth
Yeah.
of Cerberus is what it should be called. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Dirge
Completely forgettable. So right above that is Final Fantasy Dissidia NT. And
I can't
I wrote
imagine
a
why you would put that so low.
I know. I wrote a review for you guys, and you read it on your episode. And like Caleb, I was suckered into buying the $200 special edition.
That makes it rank lower, doesn't it?
And I had such high hopes because me and 2 buddies got this, and we're like, "Oh, this is going to be fun. We're going to do 3-man parties."
This is gonna be our game, bro.
Exactly. And the netcode was terrible. There's no dedicated servers. It's peer-to-peer, so you're at the whim of whoever has the worst connection. So it was just constantly awful to play.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
So that was terrible. The story mode is locked behind the multiplayer, which makes 0 sense. Why? Like, how is it? Oh no, you got to play the multiplayer before you can experience the story. That was ridiculous.
I don't think
So that
it's,
was stupid.
I don't think it's locked behind the multiplayer. I think it's locked behind other game types. Was it?
Okay, well, you had to do something. I know you
You-
couldn't just go right into
You
it.
had to collect memoria,
Yeah.
and you had to do that.
Yeah,
by,
that's what it was.
By leveling your character level up and doing so online.
I'm remembering now. Thank
Yeah.
you. Oh God.
And if you wanted to experience all of the branches, it's actually kind of a lot. You have to do kind of a lot
Yeah,
to finish it all.
It's a lot.
Yeah, do tell us, Schweiss,
Yeah,
with your
it's-
platinum run right now.
Yeah, I can't believe you're going for that, Caleb. I saw those trophies. Good. I gotta back away from this one.
It's too much. It's far too much. So like the 300 online wins, it's easy when you're because I found a way. There's like PlayStation PSNprofiles.com is a great site, right? They have a guide on there, and a guy that made the guide found a way to like manipulate your online
He's
settings.
dead now, but go ahead.
Yeah, they found a way to
He's
manipulate
He did.
your online settings to make it harder to join matches with people.
Mhm.
And so when I'm doing the online matches,
Nat Type 5.
yeah, Net Type 7000, you can only connect to someone that's within 3 feet of you with their PlayStation 4. And so I was playing against mostly bots. Now the big problem with that is it takes about 5 minutes to load every match in.
Yeah.
So, and I have I think around 140 wins and probably about 20 losses.
Almost halfway, Schweiss.
Yeah.
But you also need like an A+ ranking with everyone, right? Like 3 times.
That's actually pretty easy.
Oh, okay.
Those ones aren't bad. I already did those. I did those like weeks ago now.
Well, that's good.
Once you learn the way the game functions, basically all you have to do is get most of the kills in an online match and win, and you'll get A++ most every time.
I gotcha.
Sometimes it won't let you have it if you win too fast. Like you won't gain enough
I'm
points.
disgusted, by the way. Absolutely disgusted.
Yeah, that's not even the hard one though. The 300 wins isn't the beast. The beast is the 50 titles, because I think I have
Oh,
like 6
yeah.
of those. And you
Well,
have
let me-
to, or the treasures. Oh no, it's the treasures and the titles, because you have to unlock 300 treasures, and you only get those by leveling up your character level. And I don't even have 100 yet. I have no
Wow.
idea how many I have, because 100 is the one benchmark between 100 and 300. There's those 2 trophies. And so I won't know how many I have until I hit 100.
Then you can start counting them. You can put a piece of paper next to your monitor there, and you
Yeah,
just
yeah. Get like a tally counter or
get a
something.
tally. Yeah.
So it's a long time. One of the
I would say
guys-
bravo to you for trying it. I am a platinum connoisseur. I have 195 platinums.
What the fuck?
Wait,
you
wait,
better
wait.
believe it, baby.
Who-
Jesus.
Who are you on there? Are you friends with us on there?
I don't think so. I don't think you have my profile yet, but it's
Oh,
the same. It's Rudros. So yeah, look me up. I'm very close to 200. So like, I'm a platinum fiend. I love me some platinums, but that one I was like, nah, I ain't doing that.
That was too much for him, man.
Well,
200 fucking platinums. Twice. How many do you have?
I have like 34, I think.
God.
Yeah.
I have 2.
I've been at it a while.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
I got my first one on Rock Band 2 back in college in 2009, so I've been working at it.
God, you could have learned how to play the real guitar.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
Yes, NT's not as bad as I ranked it initially, I don't think, but it's still pretty low.
I think you're having some what's that syndrome called?
The bout hut.
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome.
I got the bout.
That's funny. Well, and like the only really great part of it is the final story cutscene where like all the fighters come together. That was fantastic. But the fighting itself is also just not very fun. Like you just get bombarded from every side. Like it's hard to tell who you're even attacking. Like it was such a disappointment.
Yeah, the 3v3 is not the way to make those games.
I'll call it summer camp syndrome because it's like when I was working at scout camp, there was a few women who worked there, and when you started, you were like, ugh, gross. But by the end, you're like, maybe.
Right?
That's because you've just been spending so much time with them. It's not because they changed.
Right.
Yeah. Is it because you've been spending so much time with them, or is it because they're the only ones?
That's both. Yeah, that's
Okay.
that. So if
Exactly.
you're only playing Dissidia NT right now because you're platinuming Dissidia NT, and you haven't played the other Final Fantasy games in a long time, you're gonna be like, well, maybe it's not that bad. This is the only
I
thing in
haven't-
my life.
I haven't played the other Dissidias either, so that's my only experience with it.
Oh, they're better.
I know everything I've listened to you guys because they sound way better.
They're way better. What's your
right.
What's your next one?
Number 26 is Mobius Final Fantasy, which is a mobile game.
Oh, that get out of here. No,
Yeah, I'll just briefly say it has terrible dialogue, terrible voice acting. The gameplay is repetitive, as is combat, and there's too much mobile junk. When you log in, it's like, hey, you earned 5 gifts today. Hey, you can use these gifts to craft into this item. Hey, if you wait 10 hours, like it's just. I literally only played it because so many of the trading cards, like the artwork, came from that. So I was like, I want to see what this is like. It's not worth it, so you can skip that one.
it's good to know. That's your review, guys, for Mobius Final Fantasy.
You're welcome. Ta-da! So, next is number 25, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. It's been a long time since I played this.
Aptly put way down there.
Yeah.
And someone in the freaking Discord the other day, I'm going to call him out. Aldwin Tyler, I think was who it was. Or Taylor. I can't remember. Aldwin something. Aldwin, you're an insane person. What the fuck are you talking about? It is not top tier Final Fantasy. I swear to God.
God, no.
No, it's awful. And he played it when we played it.
Yeah.
It was recent. I was he put like so excited for it. I can't remember what the comment was. Someone did. I'm not sure if they put that. And then I was like, it's not as good as you remember. Let it live in the past. And then they're like, no, I played it when you guys played it. It was great. It's top tier Final Fantasy. And I did not respond. I'm responding now. You're fucking insane.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I have to say about
I will buy the remaster, though. I'll buy it and I'll play it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the remaster. Well, you know what's going to be great, Caleb? You can play the remaster on a PS4, not this, hey, what if you had a GameCube and then you had to buy a Game Boy Advance to play the multiplayer? Like, right there, you're disqualified. You're a terrible Final Fantasy.
Yeah, because we had to get it, so it was like a friend of the show loaned us the little disc jockey, whatever the fuck, to attach the Game Boy things, but we had to buy the cords ourselves, so we bought the cords. This guy sent us the fucking game disc thing and the little attachment thing, and then we hooked it up, played it, sent it back to him, gave him the cords. Like it was like a nightmare, and like you can
to play it.
Yeah, just to play it, like just to play the damn thing as a co-op. Like that, we're not talking like, oh, this is some like jerk off like mobile or
right.
online functionality. No, it's local. With the fucking Game Boy Advance.
They had more than one port in the GameCube for...
Exactly! It's a GameCube game!
Just put it in there. Yeah, why would they do that? There's more than one. There's like 4 controller ports. What the fuck was the justification? It's like, oh, well, if it was...
To sell another Nintendo part?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
For Nintendo's fucking vanity of their, like...
Oh, they can't possibly pause a menu and go to the menu. They need the menu on the fucking Game Boy Advance screen instead.
I think... But
Aldwin for Eider is in the chat and has not responded to my comment. They might have unsubscribed.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm waiting for them to respond to their insanity.
Yeah, dude, it's... fuck. Dude, it's crazy that they required you to do that. Like it's
it's
I can
bonkers.
get if it was like, oh, this is an option, but it's not an option. It's required if you want to play that thing co-op. And it's like, why would you not play that game co-op? Why would you not play it co-op? I mean, there are games that we played solo, like Secret of Mana. That's a co-op game, and we didn't play it co-op. But I didn't feel like that suffered because of that. Like,
that would have been probably pretty fun.
Yeah, Crystal Chronicles. I feel like it would be very boring, very bland if you just played it by yourself.
So right there, it's already disqualified. But even then, the game itself, like, I remember combat being really simple. And in particular, I remember because of the way that miasma stuff works, one person has to carry around the little chalice the whole time. And, like, to me, that just got so annoying. It's like, I got to pick this chalice up, run it around, set it down, fight everyone, pick it back up again. I did not like it. So I never even finished that one. We never even beat it. We got so sick of it.
Oh, okay.
All right, what's next on your list? Aldwin, you're crazy.
Okay, so this might be controversial, but I believe it. Number 24, Final Fantasy Tactics. I do.
Yeah. Well, which version did you play?
So I played the War of the Lions version.
That sounds about right. I didn't care for it that much.
I technically played it on the Vita, but I guess it was the PSP version. So here's the thing. I played this in 2016 when you guys reviewed it. Like, I pretty much joined the podcast right as that happens. And so maybe if I'd played it way back in the day, I would have had more fondness for it. But here's how I felt about it playing it recently. the story is confusing and there's too many characters. Like, I like Ramza and Delita, but all the political mumbo jumbo with Dice Darg and Zalbadarg and Zalbog and Dukelarg. I don't even know who all those people are. So that was nonsense.
Balthazar.
Yeah. The battle system, it could be really fun, but it was equally frustrating. There was a map, I will never forget this. I had to like protect an NPC. It starts, the NPC moves up, the enemy one-shots them, game over.
Yeah,
I didn't even...
It's the
I
one
was
where
just
he's
like
wounded on the roof. And
I was
sometimes
like...
he'll just go straight to him and he'll die. It's like...
Yes, it was that, and I was just like, I didn't even take a turn.
What's the point of
What?
Did you get the monk gang rape map?
Yeah, the monk gang.
I didn't, but I laugh every time you bring that up, and I wish I'd run through it.
13 months in a line.
Yeah.
You're like,
Let's get some fucking puss, boys.
Right?
Let's get some low-level puss.
God damn it.
Fucking right out of the monastery, they're like just
And
raging.
you would lose a game that was 45 fucking minutes long. What the
Yep.
fuck?
Yeah,
That's why I like the sequels more, guys. They're faster.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
at a base level. That's why they're more fun. Okay, whatever.
I haven't played the sequels, but they sound like they're way better because, yeah, the map, you could get stuck. Like, you could get locked into story battles. Like, if you're facing what's-his-face in the library, that fight is so difficult. If you aren't prepared, you're stuck. You literally have to start your game over because you can't go out and, like, buy items or level up anywhere.
That type of game can only be fun if you literally have all the time in the world, I believe.
Exactly.
I believe it would be, yeah, that's it. That's to be like, I can't wait to challenge this can't wait for this kind of challenge when I get home from middle school.
Yeah.
Well, like,
I can spend hours on this and not give a shit.
Exactly. But yeah, nowadays, like, no thanks, man. And like the job system itself, so like to unlock a new job, you had to, like, let's say to unlock the knight or the bard or whatever, you had to level such and such class to 3, which unlocked such and such class, which unlocked such and such class, and then you could finally get the bard. But unlike something like 10-2, where like when you got a job, everybody got it, you only got it on that one character. So like if you wanted 2 ninjas, you had to take time to level each person through all the classes to get ninja. It was so tedious.
Yeah, it's a lot. I still really like it, but I do think it suffers from too many characters and not enough time with each of the characters. And like the 3 of them are like your brothers in the game. Like they're your brothers.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you don't really feel the impact of that familial dispute because there's just too many people in the game. So a lot of people have said like, oh, it's like Game of Thrones, which is hilarious because I saw a
lot of
thing.
death.
I saw a thing online where someone tweeted it and they're like, yeah, it's Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones. It's like, yeah, except for Game of Thrones came out like a year and a half earlier, and they're both based on historical events. So I mean,
Right.
Is it
I
both
suppose.
War of the Roses?
Yeah, they're both heavily based on War of the Roses.
Shakespeare has like 12 plays.
Exactly.
based-
Yeah, it's like it was actually Shakespeare.
No, it was actually the War of the
It
Roses.
was the war. Yeah, it's like it's because it's real. Like that's why it seems like Game of Thrones is because they're both based on the same shit.
Right? I wish I could remember the characters. There's a cutscene where it's like some of the factions and 2 of them like stab each other or they poison each other or something, and it makes it like, but like literally Ramza has never even met these people. So I'm just like, who the hell are they? Like, why do I care that they like stabbed each other?
I thought
I don't even know who they are.
I thought other characters were shallow too, and me and Craig shouted at each other about this already.
Yeah.
I know. It was a fun one. But yeah, so that's tactics. Don't get me wrong, there is some good to tactics, but I, especially for nowadays, like I find it so overrated.
How do you feel
All right.
about that, Schweiss?
I think it's great, but I could see why you'd think it's overrated.
Have you
I'm
played the
glad,
War of
like,
the
you
Lions
would-
version?
No, I didn't. I've
okay.
only played the
Maybe it's the version.
OG. The only thing I've heard about it is the cutscenes that are voiced and spell animation slowdown. Those are the only 2 differences that I know of.
That might be it.
Maybe
Might
the
be
monk,
spell
the
animation.
monk, the monk fuck
the
fest.
amount of monks they can program onto the screen to
Yeah,
fuck
they can't quite program as many monks in PS1. Also,
That was
isn't that a fucked up system? Like that's one of the games where the main campaign they have certain levels. It's like the anti FF8. No, yeah, it is. It's the opposite of FF8. It's the main guys have a certain set level, the main enemies, but everything
Right.
else is the thing that levels up with you. So it's the
Yep.
opposite of Final Fantasy VIII, and it actually is harder because the problem is you're like, okay, I'll just go level up, and the game's like, oh no, you won't. If you're not
Exactly.
good at this game, you will die there, and you will die here, and you will die everywhere you can possibly go. And if you want to go back to town, I'm sorry, you're probably going to run into a fight, and then you're going to die. It's like, if you don't know how to play, you're done.
And you have like 20 allies, but you're only allowed to bring 5 into a battle. Meanwhile, you got the frickin' monk brigade who's like, no, we got a dozen of us. Like, it's absurd.
We run this town. Oh my god. I thought you were religious.
Yeah, the religious. You're not supposed to hurt anything, Your
Yeah.
martial arts are mostly,
Self-defense. This
yeah,
isn't self-defense. I was just walking.
They're not good
Killed
monks.
me.
These are evil monks. Bad monks.
They're disillusioned with their faith. They've fallen.
We figured out there's no enlightenment.
Yeah, and we're going to fucking kill you because of it.
When you walk by, one of the monks flicks a toothpick out of his mouth. He's like, looks like we got ourselves a grinder. Oh, goodness.
Follow you into a dark alley.
Yeah.
Come on, boys.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so number 23 is Final Fantasy Crystal Defenders. This is a pretty simple game, but it's like a fun little tower defense game. It was on mobile, but I played it on PlayStation 3. It's pretty easy trophies. It's very short, but again, I like tower defenses, so it's fun. It's got charming FF characters and monsters, so yeah, I like it.
I think that's my favorite guest review. It's the Crystal Defenders review.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some guy who put that thing up, and they would use Schweiss as a drop. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
Never played the game myself, of course.
I only ever played the demo, and I was like, it's kind of cool, but it doesn't count.
Yeah, if you like tower defenders, you'd like it. If not, probably not.
Yeah, exactly. All right, what you got next?
Number 22 is Final Fantasy Brave Exvius.
Okay, another
This
mobile
is-
I've never touched.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is another one I looked at because, again, so many of the cards are based on
Yeah.
the game. So I was like, I want to check it out. So here's the thing. It's a shame it's mobile because it has excellent dialogue and characters. I was so happy to have a game where the characters just talk to each other and they have normal conversations. Like the main character, Rain, his buddy Laswell wears this like big heavy trench coat. And when you're walking through these lava fields, he's like, dude, you got to take that coat off. I'm getting hot just looking at you. And Laswell's like, what do you mean? This is like my knight's garb. This is like my honorary tradition. He's like, I know, man, but like I'm sweating. You got to be really hot. Like, but it was funny. Like they just had normal dialogue with each other.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, thank you. Like characters who just talk to each other. And the music is really good too. But again, unfortunately, I just kind of quit playing it after a while because it's a mobile game, so it's tap your screen a zillion times to have them all attack.
Yeah.
And it's all that mobile junk. Hey, log in for gems. Hey, log in for this. You can get this character today. It's just like, I don't care. Like, I wish they would take that style of storytelling and put it in a mainline title.
Yeah, I liked my time with Exvius, but I felt the same way. And like, my buddy Dwayne that I worked with, he would play it too. And like, I'd roll back to his desk, and the game would just be sitting there playing itself. And I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, doing my daily grinds." And I'm like, "Are you?" Because it looks like it's doing itself. It's like, yeah. I'm like, well, to me, it's like the story was cool, and unlocking the story as the patches came out, because I think I caught up to it at one point when the third one was coming out, and then when it came out, I just never continued. But I liked it, but it was like, yeah, it's just so mobile. It's so, there's bonuses to do every little thing. There's so much money you have to throw into it, and so many grinds.
Exactly.
Like you got to do the Cactuar grind to like level up each character and level them up for battle. It was just a lot, and it's a lot of like silliness,
Yep.
which is what mobile games kind of are, which is too bad. But I agree with you. That was one where I was like, you know what, I like this game, but I don't want to put any more time into it, or I don't want
Yeah.
it to put any more time into itself at my phone's battery's expense, I guess is really what it was.
Joe, if you haven't heard the soundtrack from it, I would pull it up on YouTube one day. It has a really good soundtrack. Like the battle theme's really catchy. The overworld theme's really majestic.
Are they original or are they Nubo mixes?
I don't know who. I don't think it was Umatsu, but I'm not sure who made it. But it was, again, it really stood out to me, especially for a mobile title.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll check it out. Next time I'm doing
So,
a bunch of like writing or something.
yeah. So, number 21 is one you played somewhat recently, Mystic Quest Final Fantasy, little Super Nintendo game. It's really charming. It's an easy entry to RPGs. It has some great battle music. The sound effects are really fun. It's very simple story and gameplay wise. I kind of have some nostalgia for this one because again, this was one of the first few I played.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Again, it was one of those games my mom got for free through work. So this, along with 3, was like one of the first video games I played.
Man, I wish we could trick adults nowadays to like
Right?
think that Final Fantasies are educational.
Well, I mean, you can read.
I guess, yeah, that's true. You do have to learn it. That is one thing I've been telling Jace. He's like, he's like stubborn about reading, and it's like, look, man, if you want to be able to play your Minecraft without any help, you gotta learn how to fucking read. I don't know what to tell you. I don't want to have to tell you how to do everything.
You know, actually, like, because of the online shit just becoming more and more a part of our lives, literacy rates have gone up versus what they were when I was a kid. So it's actually kind of, all these like electronic things they do help with reading, although your attention span for a book versus like menus of a video game are very different. So yeah, I do love Mystic Quest's battle theme. I love that so much.
Yeah, that's really good. It's a shit, but it also has 0 to do with Final Fantasy. So again, it's like the Spirits Within movie. It's like, how is this Final Fantasy in any way?
Because it's a precursor to mana.
It kind of
Right?
is, yeah. It's
In certain ways.
adventure is the real precursor.
Yeah,
but,
well, yeah, that was the mana, but
but this one it's very similar gameplay wise, which I thought was really weird because we played them in opposite order. We played adventure first, and then we played Mystic Quest.
I guess it would have been that.
Yeah, and so I think Mystic Quest was the originator of that like Zelda clone style of Final Fantasy.
I don't know. We might have that mixed up.
Yeah, because remember you could like use your axe to cut shit down, and like you would use the whip to like go across
I
gaps.
do remember it being extremely easy.
It was very easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Number 20 is our first mainline entry, and it is Final Fantasy 2.
Ooh, wow. 20
So,
down.
yeah, I haven't played this in a long time, to be fair. I was still pretty young when I finally played it, and I played like the Chronicles version or the Anthology version, whatever that PlayStation version of it was. It's got some fun character designs, and I remember some of the story points being kind of interesting, but as I'm sure you can expect, like, it's the leveling system. Like, it was so confusing and just so stupid. Like, I got stuck at the end of the game because I hadn't used magic much, and so I had to just sit there grinding magic to be able to like hurt the Emperor. And just, hey, hit me in the face so I can level up my HP. Like, I applaud them for trying to do something different, but I did not like it.
But other RPGs did it better later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Next, number 19, Final Fantasy Type 0. So, here's what I like about this game. There's several characters to play, and I find that most of them are pretty fun to play. Like, I really liked Ace could throw his cards. King had his twin pistols that was really fun to use. So
I, like
I really
the
enjoyed.
ranged guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. The range guys were fun to sit back and just pot shot people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a fun kind of school life element to it where it's like you've got so many hours and you have to spend them how you wish. You can go out to the towns or you can like spend time with your classmates kind of thing. So that was fine. The summons are really great. Like the cutscene with Alexander is really good. And there's a story battle too where you summon Bahamut Zero and you have to power up his Terra Flare. And he like flies into the sky, and Bahamut is my favorite summon. And so like all these versions of Bahamut appear and they just nuke the crap out of this boss. That was great. I liked the idea that if you died in this world, you were forgotten. Like, it was very interesting to see people who you'd have a conversation with, and then they would like die in the next battle, and the character's like, "Who was that? Yeah, I can't really remember them." Like, it's probably not. Yeah, it's probably not explored as much as it could have been, but as a concept, I thought that was pretty interesting.
So, as an actor, as a theater professional, what do you think about the crying at the end of the game?
So my next point was going to be the voice acting, right? Is
You're laughing so hard that you're crying. It's a tearjerker.
Yeah, it's jerking.
Yeah,
it's wrenching.
It did. It did bring me to tears. Maybe not in the way it expected, but
it's wrenching it from you while it also wrenches the oxygen from your lungs because you're laughing so hard you can't breathe. It's a life
It was so great that you guys played this after me because I kind of had forgotten about a lot of it, so I got to relive it. So, like when Caleb, when you played some of those voice clips, and you've got the guy who's like, "Targets acquired,"
Yeah.
I was losing it. And then you've got, I think it's Jack or King. He's like the big like bro guy. He's like, "Are you kidding me? I'm a think tank, yo."
I'm a think tank, yo.
Yeah.
That's right, I forgot about that.
And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So along with all that, story is just so confusing and convoluted, and like again, that's usually where a Final Fantasy can really shine. But in this one, you're just like, what? Like, it's a good thing the gameplay was so fun because otherwise, I think this one would be really forgettable.
Yeah.
I remember mostly the crying scene. And then
Yeah, I just I liked that you had there. It was cool that they had an alternate ending if you turn into like the Seath, right?
Yeah.
But you basically just fought until you died, and then the game's like, okay, now go do it again. Now take the
Right.
real ending, and it was like, well, I think it would have been cool if I could have just finished the game as like a god, but the game didn't want me to. The game wanted me to die crying instead.
all right, so what's next?
Number 18 is Final Fantasy 13-3.
All right, Lightning Returns.
Yeah, or Lightning Returns Final Fantasy, however they labeled it.
Right.
Right. So here's something. So first of all, the whole clock system is just so pointless. Like, especially with the chronostasis ability, it could just be completely ignored. And I found it to be more of a pain than anything else, because again, you'll have these missions that only open up at a certain time, so you're just sitting there waiting for the clock to show up. Like, I finished everything. I 100%ed this thing by like day 6 or 7, and so then I just slept for like a week straight, going to the end game.
What did you think of the ending?
I pretty much shared your thoughts. Like, there was a very good feel-good moment when Sarah reunites with Lightning and like all the friends come back. But beyond that, taking down God, and then like what, she's in Paris afterward or something weird. Like, I was just like, huh?
Earth.
Yeah, she's on Earth.
Some fucking
It's-
Earth. It's a prequel
yeah.
to Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. I don't know if you guys knew that. And a
Nonsense.
sequel to Final Fantasy IV, sort of,
Exactly. Yeah.
because Earth.
Yeah, it had ridiculous story elements. You had Hope constantly chiming in, cutting himself off, as Caleb mentioned in the review. Lightning, I wish out Lightning. This is more.
Yeah, all the time. It's like, God, you talk so much, you can't even finish the thought you just had before you start talking
Right.
again. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. You get
And
other
I'm sure-
friends. Like, get other people. There's so many people in this world you could be friends with, and all you have is me, and I don't even like you. It's totally one-sided.
The graphics are definitely a step down.
Oh,
Like,
they
if you've
are.
ever seen the dog in there, that dog looked. Ugh.
Yeah.
What's worse, that dog Schweiss or the cats from Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Probably the cats.
The
'Cause
cats are worse.
The cats are just weird.
Damn.
The dogs, it looks like shit, but the cats are just funky. It's like they have cat flesh over robot bodies. It's like, when you... This is really fucked up.
It turns
but-
out all the cats in the Final Fantasy VII universe are robots.
Yeah, it's like, you ever seen somebody that like had like their skin replaced because they had like a horrible burn victim? You know how like the skin just like doesn't connect around the eyes and like it's really scary looking.
I've never seen that on someone's face, but okay.
It's like that's what those cats remind me of. It's like the skin wasn't originally
Way
theirs.
to burn shame, Schweiss.
Yeah, yeah. I saw a picture of a guy afterwards, and I was like, "Ooh, man! Like, he looks way better because his face isn't like
Gone?
gone. Yeah, he has a nose and shit now, but like, it looks like he could take that off. Like, and I don't know how to feel about that. It's like it wasn't meant for his skull, and that's how the cats look in 7. Like, the skin's not made for them. It's like there's something wrong.
God, dude, you got to play that thing so you can talk about the cats. But
Yeah,
all right,
just the cats. That's the only thing
that's
worthwhile.
the only thing worth talking about in Final Fantasy VII Remake. What's your number 17?
Oh, real quick, I will add on 13.3. The battle system is very fun, as you've pointed out. I don't think I'm quite as high on it as the two of you are. In particular, I didn't like that there was only a single party member. Like, that got a little monotonous to me. So I really liked it when you teamed up with the big Chocobo or with Fang. But it is still a very fun battle system, and that definitely carries the game.
Yeah, I think I love it all. I love all of the gameplay in that thing, but I can see why it'd be tedious.
Number 17 is the original Final Fantasy. So I've only played this once, and it was a long time ago. And again, it was like the Origins version or whatever. So I don't remember a whole lot about it. I remember it being very difficult, but ultimately enjoyable, and it was fun to make like a party composition. And it was kind of nice to see like the origins of Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, coming back after not starting there, it's definitely a. I think it gets extra points just for being the first one, kind of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people go back and play that one. I heard Brandon Sanderson talk about Final Fantasy. He's like, the only one I really like is 1. I'll keep on playing that one over and over again. I'm like, fucking why? God. But some people, old school gamers, they like that game. There's a lot of stuff you can do. There's a lot of different ways to beat it. So.
Yeah, challenge runs and shit. For sure, yeah.
What's your number 16?
Number 16 is a game, I kid you not, I finished last night, and it's Final Fantasy IV: The After Years.
Is this your first time playing it?
Yes, I'd never played it before. A buddy bought it for me on Steam, and so I'd always kind of heard good things about it, and so I played through it. I really enjoyed it. I liked the multi-tale aspect, that you would go through everyone's different tale and see how they kind of fuse together. It was nice to see these characters again post 4. It was nice to kind of see them, how they'd grown and like what their new adventures were. It was just cool to reconnect with all of them. The music is, of course, really good. The combat is both very fun and very frustrating. Like there's some battles you'll walk into and you'll literally die in one hit from some nonsense.
Which version did you play?
I guess it was maybe the PSP port, because it looked like the 3DS version of Final Fantasy 3, the way the graphics were.
I'm hearing this. So did you emulate it?
No, it was.
It's on Steam, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's the peg leg.
Oh,
yeah, whatever that version was.
That's the remake in the form of the DS.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think they changed a lot.
One's is 2D.
Okay, so they must have changed. I know they changed a bit, because like I was reading a guide of the original. I was like, well, that's not in here. Well, that's not in here.
I'm telling you, the best version of FF4 is also the PSP one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
So just for everybody out there who's thinking about playing these games, play the PSP version. Oh my God.
That's
Final Fantasy IV Complete, I think is what the edition is called.
Edition, yeah.
Oh,
awesome.
So
I'll have to look into that. And I found the moon cycle kind of both fun and annoying. Like it was nice when it was in your favor, but it would suck that like, oh, the moon's in the wrong place, so you die instantly to any physical attacks.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that was a pain. But overall, I really liked it. I thought it was pretty enjoyable to go through.
Can you imagine living in a world where that was the case? Like you
I know.
certain cycles of the moon. Like that'd be ridiculous.
Hey, honey, do you want some groceries? What's the moon at right now? No, we better wait.
I'm feeling tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm feeling weak right now. I should sleep for 2 weeks.
All right, number 15 is Final Fantasy 13, the original 13.
13, okay. Sorry, you
yeah.
For a second. Final Fantasy 13, okay.
So it has fantastic graphics. Grand Pulse is excellent. When you get to Grand Pulse, that area is like, oh, finally, this game can breathe.
The game really opens up 30 hours in.
It does. Everything before then is a lot not as great, but Grand Pulse is like, okay, finally, this game can breathe. The music is okay, but it was a letdown. And again, this will show my Final Fantasy colors, but like, where is the fanfare? The first time I finished a battle and I didn't hear da 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 da, I was like, what the hell, man? Like, where's my music? Like, I know that's a stupid thing, but again, like, I've had it for 12 games. So that was a big letdown when it wasn't there.
I mean, 12 kind of only has it after boss fights, though.
But at least it's still there. 13, it's nowhere to be found.
That's true. It doesn't exist, yeah.
So
that's what you get instead.
Yeah, so that was a big letdown. Again, the battles are really fun. Like, I know some people are like, oh, it's auto battle, but given the way they designed it, you would, if it didn't have auto battle, my God, would that be a pain. So I'm grateful it's there. However, the fact that like just your party leader can get KO'd and you lose, that was dumb.
Yeah, that's unfair.
Story-wise, so here's what I liked about the story. As a concept, I like the fact that very early on your characters are doomed. And so you kind of have this impending, like, you're going to fail at the end of this. This
If you
will end with
understand
you
what the
perishing.
fuck's going on, yes. Yeah.
Exactly. If you get it, that's the problem. Is that it's beyond confusing. You have all these data logs that you have to sift through, and the way again, this was one of the first ones where I kind of came up with this idea that they don't know how people talk anymore. These characters talk at each other. They're overly emotional about everything. Like I remember the scene where Hope finally confronts Snow. And and he's like, and what if you can't? And Snow's like, words aren't enough. And I'm like, what? That's not a response to like. Why doesn't Snow just? Yeah, bling 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 blue blue. Like the music starts playing. Why doesn't Snow turn around and look at him and just outright say, Snow, or like, Hope, I didn't kill your mother.
I didn't kill your fucking mother.
But that would require him to like directly talk to him, and they don't like that. So
they like to turn around.
Yeah.
They turn, or they do the same fucking blocking in like
Yeah.
6 scenes in that game. Just
they do the dramatic turn with like
turn around, over the shoulder shot, bring ding 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 ding.
And they have to gasp. So I'd heard before this game came out like how linear it would be, and I was like, well, linearity is not a bad thing. And then I played it. I was like, okay, this is ridiculously linear. Like, again, it really is hallway the game. And what really pisses me off is like you'll watch a cutscene, you'll take 2 steps and hit another cutscene. Why? Just put me into the next cutscene. Like, what did they think I was getting bored? Like, we better give him control back for a moment.
There's a cutscene in Final Fantasy XIV that it's like, this is 1 hour and 20 minutes long. Make sure you set aside time.
Right?
Like, couldn't you have done that for 13 as well?
Yeah.
Right. And there's
When
no
you watch the
towns.
movie.
There's no towns. There's no shops. Like, it just feels so empty. Like, there's a lot good about this game, but man, it was a pretty big letdown, and it could have been so much better. And I think they improved on it a lot in its sequel.
Which is not number
Final
14?
Fantasy, not number 14 though. Number 14 is Final Fantasy 12.
FF12. I like 12 a lot. Schweiss loves 12. So you gotta tell us why it's number 14, bud.
So here's the thing. 12. Part of me loves 12. Part of me can't stand 12. Here's what's great about it.
Which part?
The battle system is excellent. Love the battle system, and I like the gambits. I know people say, "Oh, the gambits, it plays itself." No, again, it's like it would just be so monotonous if you had to sit there, attack again. Like, I like the gambits a lot.
Especially when there's
In
birds
partic-
after you in a field,
Right?
just coming up, and you're like, I didn't even see you before. God.
Exactly. The hunts and the lore behind the hunts are wonderful. Some of the best side quests in Final Fantasy. Yasmat, who is the whole point that this clan was put together, Clan Centuro, and he's got this great backstory that like he killed the Mughals' master or their father, and so the Mughals, Mont Blanc creates this hunting clan to take him on one day. That's awesome. There is one for this horse called Ixion, and it's this like person in the seaport city, and she's like, once upon a time we put this horse out on a boat because it wouldn't stop whining when it was in its pen, and as it drifted out to sea you could still hear its whining to these days, and now it keeps me awake at night with its whines, and I have nightmares. Like, that's so cool. Like, to give the lore to those hunts was excellent. Absolutely love the hunts. So
yeah, there's a lot of lore in that game. There's like too much lore, but
yeah,
there's
absolutely.
There's a lot of cool shit. So that's
A lot of great characters in that thing, I think.
Really? See, I thought the characters were mostly forgettable. Like,
Balthier's great.
Balthier is great, but what about
Sid is
Vaughn
great.
is forgettable.
Vaughn and
Pinello's
Pinello
forgettable.
are forgettable, and unfortunately, they are the main or the people you spend the most time with.
Yeah. Ash is okay, but I've always been waiting for Ash to take it to that next level as a character, and she always just felt like she stood in middle gear for it.
Yeah. I like Bosch a lot.
I do too. Well, and like the scenes between Bosch and Gabranth, they're really good, but they're just so few, and they're so few and far between.
Yeah, I think making the game about Vaughn and not making the game about Bosch was a huge mistake.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That was something they definitely changed.
Yeah, it should have been, especially because you have so much time that it cuts to the judges with how solid we got. And I mean, there's a scene where like one of the judges kills themselves. Keep in mind, you as the player haven't even interacted with these judges yet. You see them in cutscenes, but you haven't run into them. You haven't encountered them. And to me, that's what makes the most if you think of the greatest villains in all of media, in movies and video games, they all interact with the heroes on multiple occasions. Think of how many times you encounter Sephiroth before the final battle. How many times does Kefka get in your fucking face before the final battle? But these guys, you just hear about them. So there's just this
Necron,
feeling
all the time that Necron is brought up.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's why Necron is very good, right? Because he just shows up out of nowhere.
Right.
So while these guys, while their storyline is okay, you never interact with them. So for me, there's a feeling of detachment. Like Vayne is a guy, your characters never interact with Vayne. You just run into him at the very end as, okay, he's the bad guy.
That's right.
Yeah, and he's a cool bad guy too, so it makes it annoying that they're just killing him just to kill him. They don't know him at all. You know, it makes
exactly.
it really one-dimensional.
You don't even know me.
Yeah, you don't even know.
You know my little brother.
Yeah, but he's a douche. He's just a little douche. He's not nearly as cool as me. You just accused me of killing my father.
Excuse me while I lift bro for this final fight.
Yeah.
Caleb.
While I save mankind from these gods and then fail and then try to kill you.
Caleb, I will not have you take down House Solidor in such a discourteous manner.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, you got to make it tinnier, though. You got to make it something.
Right, yeah.
You gotta put the compressor all the way up.
Like
Oh,
you're telling
I know.
me that from your house, and I threw a string on a tin can, and I'm in my house.
Right?
That's how it's got to sound. Like, are we running out of space on this disc, or what? What's going on here?
So two more things I'll note is that the summons aren't very good, which, especially coming off of 10, which I think has some of the best summons in the series, was
like
really
it.
disappointing.
7 remakes just like it.
Yeah. And then here's my biggest issue with this game from a design standpoint. The game is designed to waste your time. Caleb, if you got the platinum for the Zodiac Age, you'll know this. There is a monster that spawns in Wraithwall's tomb that you have to fight for the platinum. You know how you get him to spawn? You have to hang out in the tomb for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
30 minutes!
That's the one
You're
that
just
Joe ground on forever.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You're just sitting around. And again, is that supposed to be fun? Am I engaging in the game in any way?
No,
Am I
no.
making a tactical decision? No, I'm just wasting time.
No, you set your gambits up so that you'll automatically heal and get stone taken off of you, and then you walk away from the PS2 and come back the next morning.
Or
and
three
you
Right?
guys are in them level 90s.
Yeah. And then you take the game by the horns and you rip its head off.
Yeah.
That's how you're supposed to
Exactly.
deal with that guy.
And like the fight with Zodiark or some of the other ones, they literally get immunity. They'll be like, oh yeah, they're physically and magically immune. You just
Yeah.
have to sit there.
It's like you're playing a made-up game with a kid, and he's like, all right,
Right?
no damage. No damage. You're like, what do you mean no damage? You're like, oh, I'm not taking any damage. You're like, well, what? This wasn't part of the rules. No damage. Well, who the fuck made this up? It's the only time this has ever happened to me.
This isn't fun.
This is bullshit.
It was. Again, I'm just sitting there like, okay, I guess I'll just die while you decide to be invulnerable. Like, again, where is my choice as a player? What am I contributing to this fight? I'm not. I'm just sitting here waiting for him to decide, all right, you can hit me again.
Yeah, all right, unpause.
So, like, I get why everyone loves 12, and again, it has some good things going for it, but to me, there is enough holding it back. And again, 12 was the first game after all those guys left, and it was so obvious that, like, this doesn't have Sakaguchi's touch or Uematsu's touch. Like, the music doesn't compare to any of the others. So, for me, 12 was a big step
It feels
back.
out of nowhere if you never played 11.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
11,
absolutely.
11, honestly, it has so much influence on it. Yeah, I get you. What's your next one?
Number 13, World of Final Fantasy.
Aw, fuck that.
I know. It's super charming. I like the designs of the mirages. Again, it's kind of a love letter to way. It has a really nice who will show up next in the story kind of feeling. Like, oh, there's Cloud. Oh, there's Tidus. Oh, there's whoever.
I can't believe you put that above 12. I'm honestly, I'm livid right now.
It's okay. I understand. But again, 12 was. I have a lot of hate towards 12 in some areas. The mini games in World of Final Fantasy are terrible. Absolutely awful.
Yeah.
Those Cactar Conductor and the Sand Crawler stuff is just god awful. Hated that. Lon and Rain have awful dialogue, and the story could definitely be way stronger because again, it gets kind of good at the end, but before then, it's just kind of like shuffling along.
Yeah, it's not a strong story. It has some interesting themes by the end, though. You're right; it does get better, but there's
Yeah,
a lot
but
of boring shit in there.
the battles are fun. They're a little too slow. Like I pretty much almost had it on speed up feature.
Yeah.
So I wish that had been better, but the summon animations are great. Like this is one of my favorite versions of Mega Flare that Bahamut has, and like all the summons look fantastic in this game. And I found the stack system to be ultimately pretty fun, even though I wasn't super high on it to start with.
Yeah, I get you.
We got dog eating, trying to eat some candy here.
It's his own treats, so it's
Oh,
fine.
it's his own treats.
Yeah.
Okay, just let him. Let's let him eat them all. All right. So what's next after that bullshit? You rank World of Final Fantasy way too high. I'm sorry. No.
No, that's fair. I get it. I
Bad
get.
game.
See,
Bad.
Hey, you liked it in your review.
It is okay. It got better.
It gets better. My thing was like again, I could just play World of Final Fantasy when I wanted, and then I could be done with it when I wanted. Whereas 12, it was like, oh my god, I've got to waste. Like, here's the thing: WoF was never frustrating. It's never frustrating the way 12 was for me.
Is that what the guys who play Final Fantasy card games call it?
Yeah, WoF. We call it
WoF.
category WoF.
Just call it WoF.
Yep.
Bro, I played some WoF today. It's not that bad. I think I'll rank it number 13 on my list.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 12 is Final Fantasy 13-2.
Nice.
So I think this is the best of the 13 series by far. There's actual towns, there's actual side quests, and who can forget, if you change the future, you change the past.
Everyone knows it. It's always everyone knows it's true.
Final Fantasy VII Remake's taking that torch, carrying it. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Right? Oh, yeah, that's what I heard.
Change the past. Dumb
Um,
line, but great game.
Yeah. So here's some random thoughts about it. I really like Noel as a character. He's a great addition, and I like that his name was Noel. After we had Snow and Lightning, my buddy was like, "What if they call this next guy like Waves?" He's gonna be like, "My name's Waves." It's like, okay, he's Noel. Thank God. The characters in general are stronger in this one. Again, they tend to talk to each other more naturally, minus Mog, who just says Kupo all the time, and that kind of drove me nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that one part. Is it 13-3 that you throw? There's that quest where you like have to punt Mog.
Yeah, I think Lightning does that.
Yeah. Okay. That was well deserved.
I know this is a random point, but Snow and Sarah do not act like they're engaged.
Yeah, they act like
That's
they're
because
like buddies.
Snow likes lightning now.
Yeah.
Snow's changed his mind.
Yeah, if you look at his design
okay.
in 13-3, he's like going goth for lightning, I think is the reason why he's doing it.
That would make more sense because when you run into him in this game, like again, these are supposed to be in fiancés, and she was like, "Oh, hey, what's up?"
As far as I can
Haven't
tell,
seen you in a
he
while.
dated Sarah for like 3 months and then spent the next 2 years with Lightning.
Yeah.
It's like your
Saving
much
the world.
hotter older sister.
Yeah.
Sorry. Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah, now he looks at her and he's
Unless Snow is one of those guys who like only dates women 20 years younger than him.
like, yeah.
Just really likes him young looking. Cause
Yeah.
that's how
Oh,
Sarah
man.
is. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, you're fine. The story is pretty interesting. The time travel, like alternate endings you could discover, those are pretty fun. I thought that gave it some fun replayability. The very ending's kind of stupid. I don't like that Sarah just dies, and this is like, oh, she's dead.
Spoilers.
Set up for a sequel. Yeah, spoilers for all these, obviously.
Yeah.
There's some. Oh, sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, go ahead.
There's some pretty fun locations to explore, and I like the monsters. They're kind of neat. Although I almost kind of wish it had just been a third-party member, because all the monsters fill a role that you already have. Like they can be Commando or Saboteur or whatever. And so because of that, the monster can only cover like 1 or 2 roles, if I remember correctly. So while Noel and Sarah can do everything, you're limited by the monster. So as neat as it was to kind of catch them, that to me almost felt a little tacked on. Like I almost wish you had either just had a third member, something, but at least when your party leader dies this time, the whole battle doesn't end.
Yeah, I just remember using the double cop guys and just healing like a motherfucker. Like they couldn't touch you. So you just said like boop 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 boop. You're
Yeah.
just like your health is just skyrocketing.
Thanks for reminding me of that sound.
Yeah. Boo.
God damn it.
It's so annoying, but they're so good.
Number 11,
Oh,
Final
gosh, okay.
Fantasy 3.
Final Fantasy 3.
Damn,
Yeah.
original 3, huh?
No, I only played the DS remake. I never played the original.
Oh, that's what I mean. Because you referred to 6 as 3 earlier, so I wanted.
Yeah. So this is 3, the actual. So yeah, playing the DS remake, it was a really fun job system. I thought the mechanics were really charming. Like you could shrink and go into little mouse holes. Found the battles to be enjoyable. The story's pretty basic, but it's fine. It's nothing great, but it's not terrible or anything. The final dungeon is absolutely cruel. I had to do it 3 times because I didn't know how Cloud of Darkness worked. And so the first time I went and fought her, she just boop and like wiped everybody. I was like, I have to do that all again? Are you kidding me?
Walk up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
God.
that sucked.
Did you
But
realize
again,
that the Cloud of Darkness was going to be super fucking hot later? Because I did. That was a surprise.
right? Yeah, who saw that
I
coming?
was like, wow, I thought the one I'd want to fuck the most would be Shiva, but I don't want to peel off that Cloud of Darkness costume. See what's going on there.
That sounds a little Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, I want to peel off that skin.
I don't like that. I don't like that usage of those words.
Peel off when referring to clothes.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to flay that outfit off of her.
God.
Roast her over the spit that is my
If you
dick.
know what I mean.
Yeah.
Nasty.
Yeah, Cloud of Darkness, yeah, I that was a cool one, and I think 3 was the one that brought in the Warriors of Dark, right? They talked about how that was the thing, and
That's
I was like,
the one you played on your Kindle.
yeah, and I
Fucker.
cheesed.
Yeah, that Caleb cheated on. I heard the story.
Oh my God.
It's so good. I only did it once. Yeah, I mean I died to her multiple times, but I only went up there once.
You fucker.
It's a one-way ticket. It was Final Fantasy Tactics.
That last
we ain't
save
coming
is
back.
in such a bad spot.
Yeah, because you have to fight that. You have to fight through the maze area outside, and then you have to get into the middle where the tower is, and then you go up the entire tower.
Right.
So if you want to,
going up that tower with like super strong enemies.
yeah, oh yeah.
God damn it.
I feel like I made up for it with FF1 though. If we're gonna be fair, because
You made up.
I preemptively made
up
for the
for
fact.
FF1 with FF3.
Yeah, with the brutality that 1 put me through. 3,
Okay.
I was able to
All right.
make up for lost time.
What's your next one?
Number 10, so our top 10 here, and I can't wait to hear your reaction to this. Final Fantasy X-2.
A little high up there.
So a lot of people shit on this game. Let me make a
Justifiably, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, here's what this game does right. And I'll make a film comparison because I've heard you guys crap on the new Star Wars films, which I also don't like very much. Episode 7 of Star Wars is the exact same as Episode 4. It feels like nothing happened, that the Empire was never defeated because here's this new thing, the First Order, blah, 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 blah. Final Fantasy X-2 is a world without sin. It is what would happen to this place after this oppression has just been lifted after all these years. So everyone goes a little crazy and they're a little stir happy and they're a little silly. And again, to me, that made sense. Now, was it too silly? Absolutely. There's some parts that just get so over the top silly. Yeah.
And just remember that Yuna now has changed careers to be a pop star
She's very versatile. She's very skilled.
and a religious leader at the same
She is very versatile.
time. God. But go ahead.
So there's definitely some silly parts, but there's also some parts that are kind of touching, like the disappearance of the Macalania Woods and the Guado, and how basically everyone hates the Guado now because of what Seymour did, and they're just going to fade away one day with the woods. I thought that's really well done. Pain is a great character. I really liked her as an addition, especially because she's so serious and down to earth. She really helps pull in the kind of silliness of some of the things around her.
If she wasn't in the pop band, I'd agree, but there's a line you have to draw in the sand, and she didn't do it, so I don't know. I don't know.
The job system is excellent. The battle is really, really fun. I love that you can
It is.
do jobs on the fly. That's great. And all the costumes have this nice little animation they change, and
It's like,
they've got this
I
this
can almost
cutscene.
see him naked. My little horny 15-year-old self is saying every time I see it.
No. Well,
Costume
only
change.
see, but only some of them are
There's a
skimpy.
little
Some of
skin.
them are
There's a little
fully
skin.
clothed.
There's a little skin in that little animation. See that? Ooh. Then I have to close the door quietly. so my parents don't come in.
Yeah.
I also really appreciated Yuna's journey as well as her ending speech, and in particular. So here's the thing. Here's probably why I rank this game a little higher than maybe some others, because this game has a very personal effect for me. Because ultimately, what this story is about at its core is that Yuna wants to find the person she loves, and they do a good job of several times throughout the story, Yuna reflecting on her own thoughts, and she's basically saying there's all these distractions come up and nothing seems to lead to you. Like, I just want to find you, and everything is keeping me away from that. And this game has one of my favorite moments in Final Fantasy in it that nobody talks about. And okay, again, this is very personal for me, but it's what I call the whistle in the dark. And it's at the end of chapter 3. Yuna falls into the far plane, and she just met Shuyin for the first time. And she's like feeling all these things Len's feeling. She's so confused, and she's literally just like on this platform in pure darkness, and she's running around and she's trying to find a way out, and she's frustrated, and it slowly builds to anger, and she just screams, and it's just silence. She's completely alone. And so she crumples to her knees and she just says, "I'm all alone." And then you hear Tidus's whistle. That is the last sound in the world would expect to hear at that point. And what's so heartbreaking to me is that she doesn't even question it. She immediately says, "Where are you?" She believes he's there. Like, I mean, could you imagine that? Could you imagine being in a pit, completely isolated from anyone and everything you ever cared about, and then your saving grace, what cuts through that darkness, is the one sound you thought you could never hear again in the world? Like, I don't know, man. For me, that cuts deep, and like, again, I kind of have some life experiences to relate to something like that. But so for me, Yuna's journey and to see her and really helps elevate this a bit in my eyes. But I totally can understand why other people like to bash on it.
Hey, what can I do for you, man?
Yeah.
What can I do for you?
What can I do for you?
Yeah, I mean, if she, I don't know. I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, it's like she did fall in love with this idiot. So I mean, that's like,
If only during that scene she heard. Ha, 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 ha.
yeah.
Well, and see, that's the thing. For a lot of people, those silly scenes and the scenes massage Blanc and she's and all that, that
It cannot be.
Yeah, that's what stands out. Yeah.
I get why that overtakes it, but for me, the core part of Yuna there is enough to make me like it a lot more. So that one, I would never like refute people who are like, "Oh, I don't like it because all this goofiness." I'd be like, "Yeah, it's pretty goofy, but it still works for me."
I just remember someone told me it was girly one time, and I was very bothered by that. I was like, no.
It's horny.
This isn't girly. This is what
It's creepy.
Japan views as girly, which is not
It's what a middle-aged Japanese man pervert
thinks of as girly. Yeah,
thinks
we're
of
not
as
talking
girly.
like it's feminine. We're talking girly, and we're adults. Like it's weird. It's weird.
It's gross.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
I will say, Caleb, when I listened to your review of it, you slayed me when you imitated Brother doing the. You were like, it's like he just did a line of coke and goes, "Party!" Yeah.
Yeah, he's fucking high. Yeah.
Yeah, he's over the top and crazy.
And he wasn't even hot. Yeah. All right. What else you got? What you got for number 9? That's a good defensive.
Hold on. I'm pausing the recording real quick. I gotta use the restroom.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sure.
So Schweiss, if you could make sure they don't hear me.
That's a good.
Can I? Go ahead.
That's a good defensive 10 too, though. I like that. That's good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So we'll start on
Can I
number
go grab
9.
water really quick then? We're taking a small break.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it.
Small break.
Okay, be right back.
All right, Dougie, I gotta go to the restroom. Excuse me. Drink 3 cups of coffee. muted. Hey, Rudrose, you back?
Although we are muted for him. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, okay, we're gonna start on your number 9 and go.
All right. My number 9th entry is Final Fantasy, the original. At the time, and by at the time,
Wait. Hold on. Really?
You already did Final Fantasy 1 for 17, though, didn't you?
No, sorry. Final Fantasy.
Final
Final
Fantasy.
Fantasy. What? We
Am
got
I
off.
cutting out?
Yeah, you
Oh,
cut off
Final
for a second.
Fantasy 4.
4. I think is what you're
4.
right?
Yeah,
4? Okay.
yeah.
For some reason, it just doesn't like the word 4 when you say it. Discord just wants to cut you off.
Yeah.
Like, shut up with the Final Fantasy 4.
FOUR.
Final
Full.
Fantasy.
You can. Yeah.
Final Fantasy.
I'm like Jimmy from South Park. Final Fantasy 4. Final Fantasy 4.
You shall not pass.
Yeah, you shall not pay. You shall not pay.
All the South Park fans are really having a good time listening to this.
Yeah. Huge crossover.
Final Fantasy 4. At number
There we
9,
go.
That's respectable.
So at the time, and I don't mean the time I played it, but as far as like from starting from 1 going up to 4, it easily had the best characters in Final Fantasy at the time. They were the most developed. They were given the most time. 4 had a lot of really memorable locations as well as story developments. Even though things like, I remember thinking, oh my god, how many times is Kain going to get brainwashed? Or, oh man, how many of these characters are going to die? Like, it was still memorable. It stuck with me. There's some great memorable moments from its story. Again, Kane's issues, the whole Spoony Bard thing with Edward and Tella, Cecil turning into a paladin.
Yeah, I think the first third of the game is really strong in its story.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. In particular, like, I love that Rydia is tied so directly to the summons. Like, that gives them, again, good story impact that you have this character who has this kind of like personal connection with them. The combat was really fun. I liked it. I think it's to this day the only game, like not counting the online ones, that you could have 5 people in a party.
Yeah, that was sweet.
So that was really nice.
I missed that one time.
Yeah. It's been so long since I've played it, and maybe I'll take your recommendation and get the PSP version, because that sounds really fun. But I will say the one thing is, though, the ending almost made me want to quit, because the moon dungeon was so hard. Like, I just remember I would take like 2 steps, get into a fight with a behemoth or something, nearly die, heal up to full, take 2 more steps, have to fight in some crazy monster, and I was just like, oh my god, I can't do this. Like, it was so tough.
Yeah, it's a real sudden difficulty spike.
Yeah.
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 It was ridiculous. And I agree with you that, like, it was really disappointing to have all those characters come back in the end. It was like, what? Well, like, just cheap.
What was
cheapen
all
their
this drama
sacrifice.
for?
Except for Tell.
Yeah,
Except for Tell.
absolutely.
And I guess,
But-
doesn't Fusoya die too?
Well, he's
You're fucking with us, right?
I'll say he's in the after years, so I guess not. I don't honestly 100% remember.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, Joe. We fucked around with this so long. They're actually from the same game.
Tell out Fusoya?
Yeah, they're both in 4.
Bullshit. Fuck
Dude,
you.
I swear to
Get the
God.
fuck out of here.
We've fucked with it. We fucked with our memory of this over the years so many times for being called out for it. They're actually both in 4. It's the guy in 5 is Galoof. Like, that's the only other named dude. Yeah, from what I remember, it's Galoof and then his daughter, right? Or granddaughter.
Kryl, yeah.
God damn it, dude. Just move on. Just move on.
One thing that I'll also say about Final Fantasy IV, like, I know there's, I wonder with the Kain thing if they were playing around with the idea that I doubt it, but there's only a certain amount of people that can be brainwashed, or not brainwashed. Everyone can be brainwashed, I think, but.
I know.
Yeah, believe me, I'm a cult master. I convinced all of you that Joe was more offensive. But no, it's only a certain amount of people can fall under hypnosis. There's like a certain subset of people that can, and I wonder if Kain is just like a simpleton, like he's just stupid enough that like he could be taken over constantly. And honestly, one other thing that would make 4 top 5 for almost everyone is if they weren't married in the beginning. I think if Cecil and Rosa weren't married, and Kane's plight would be a lot more understandable. Because I think Kane is a cooler character, especially after playing the After Years than Cecil.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I loved him in After Years.
But just in 4, it seems like he's just jealous of his bro's hot wife. Like it just seems very disingenuous. But like it would be way cooler if they weren't married, but they were destined to marry, and he was trying to convince her to break that like betrothal or something. And
right.
It'd be great if Kane fucked Rosa, right?
Yeah. and if his son was actually, what is it, Cesador or whatever the fuck?
See, they don't even.
Yeah.
Know. They don't even
Theodore.
know who's the father.
Theodore. Yeah, it's actually Kane's son. He's got the like luxurious long hair and like easily manipulated. Like he's just kind of just a little bit dumb. And it's just Kane's kid. Yeah, I think that would have made that game way cool.
He certainly knows how to wear a suit of armor.
Yeah.
He's on a cliff with Cecil. He's like, so, and know where I used my jump ability last night?
Your mom. Oh.
Yeah. Oh!
Son. Yeah, no, seriously. 4 is great though. When we got to 4, there was a definite increase.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it was like night and day almost, and we had already enjoyed the games. So we feel you there for sure.
Absolutely. So right above 4, and these two are honestly interchangeable. Like I'll switch them based on the day. So number 8 is Final Fantasy V. It has one of the best battle systems in the series. Great use of the job system. Yeah, I absolutely love the jobs and how easy it was to switch between them. They all had different costumes, and yeah. Galoof's sacrifice, I remember, was really memorable, and I love that they just let Kryl take his place, and that you didn't have to like level a whole new character. You know, she just basically inherited all of his power.
Yeah.
And the story isn't as in-depth as 4, but the battle system, I think, makes up for any shortcomings 5 has in story, because it's just that fun. So like I said, 4's kind of got more on the story aspect, and 5 has more on the battle aspect, so I could kind of flip the two depending on the day, but today I decided to put 5 on top, so...
Yeah, I feel yeah, and then also... the lack of sacrifice, and then the opposite in 5 was really refreshing.
Yes,
because 5 was like really light and like kind of like, oh yeah, there's bad guys, and X-Death is seriously causing some serious shit, but like it was still kind of like a lighter tone game. And then suddenly Galoof gets killed, and you're like, oh, that was really heavy. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Right.
And he stays dead. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, just kidding, he's fine.
Spoilers, he stays dead. Also, spoilers, Bart gets beefy.
Yeah.
Damn right he does.
Movie, he hits the weights. He watched that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and he's like...
Watch Pumping Iron?
Yeah, he's like, that could be me.
I want to be coming all the time, too.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want that?
He goes outside, Boko, what do you think of my new body? Boko's just like, Queek!
Just a service, a PSA out there for everybody. Pumping Iron is a great documentary.
Yeah.
And everybody needs to see it so you can quote Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, I'm coming day and night. He's talking about the pump. And the pump is just like coming. God, it's so great. Have you seen that documentary, man? Rude.
I have not.
Oh, my God. I think it was for free on Tubby or whatever that app is called.
Tubby.
On Tubby, that's an appropriate place to put it.
Go watch your exercise video, you fat ass. Free on Tubby. Yeah. Also, all of Billy Blanks' stuff and Shanti.
I think it's called Tubi.
It is,
Tubi,
yeah.
But when I first read that thing, I was like, Tubby.
I like Tubby way better.
Yeah. I'm not Tubby.
Yeah.
I'm just years old.
You get a free subscription every purchase at a Baskin Robbins.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. Pumping Iron, first off, is the most homoerotic thing you will ever watch. And at the same time, it's one of the greatest documentaries ever. So it's great. It's great all around, really, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, go watch it on Tubby.
Go watch it on
Awesome.
Tubby. At least it was on there a few months ago. All right, what's your number 7?
Number 7. So I'm sure have you guys ever felt in media of any sort, a book or a movie or a TV show, anything, have you ever felt like an episode or a game was either increased or decreased in quality based upon what came before it?
I'm not quite sure what you're saying.
I think
So, for example, if you saw a really great movie and then the sequel came out, have you ever felt like, compared to the last one, this was kind of a letdown? Or, maybe you saw kind of like a bad something in a series, and then the next was like, oh, thank goodness, like a return to form.
Yeah, I think I saw that when I was watching season 5 of Game of Thrones the first time. It was kind of like a dud, and then we got episode, I think, 8, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And the reason why it was so amazing is because, like, oh my god, the rest of it's so boring. Well, in hindsight,
Absolutely.
I was wrong, but
So a little bit of
It's
setup
worse.
there. A little bit of setup there, but it helps. It'll make sense. So my next entry, number 7, is Final 15. And
15.
yep, 15.
Okay. God, it doesn't like the F sound when you make it on Discord.
That's weird.
It's just like Final Fantasy 15. And I was like, it's got to be 15.
So 15, a part of the not only do I just think it's a good game, especially coming on the heels of 13, I think really helped it a lot because it was so much more straightforward than 13 was. The characters just talked to each other. You had a very simple goal. I'm going to get my throne back. It wasn't so convoluted. So I think that really helped it out. Here's other things that I think are great about 15. The time in the Regalia is incredibly memorable. The bond between the 4 boys is excellent. It's just so much fun to drive around with them. The world in particular, excuse me, the world is a treasure. Like, you have those big cataplebus things that are like just hanging out in the lake, and the fact that you can just see them from like a mile off, and you can see their shadows at night, and like driving into Lestalem at night, and you got these big windy roads, like walking up the steps of the volcano. The world was really enjoyable to explore. I really liked that. The combat is pretty simple, but it's fast paced, and I found it rewarding. The main characters are excellent, especially Arden. I love Arden as a villain. He's one of my favorite villains. And Noctis and Prompto, Ignis, and Gladiolus are all excellent. That being said, the side characters are definitely underdeveloped, and they kind of feel like, well, side characters.
yeah,
But
like,
the main
Dave and Jared.
Yeah, Jared. I don't even know how Jared died. It just came back. He's like, he's gone now. It's like, what happened? Oh.
He's like, wait, Jared, the jeweler guy, or what? Like, are we talking the guy that sells the jewels, or are we talking the like pedo sandwich guy here? Like, those are the only 2 Jareds I know. Like, I don't know why you'd cry for the pedo sandwich guy. And honestly, I didn't know the jeweler guy died, so I.
Pedo sandwich.
Yeah, yes.
Poor Jared.
Yeah.
Actually, not poor Jared. Fuck Jared.
Yeah, no,
But,
seriously. And even in 15, to this day, I think it's the guy that helps you out in that town that one time.
Yeah, he's like the grandfather of Talbot or something.
Yeah,
I don't
oh,
know.
Yeah, he's the grandfather of that little shit. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Another character that you hate.
Right.
His fucking grandson is just as.
and I think Luna suffers the most.
Oh, absolutely. Like, why when you go visit her in Alticia, why not have her and Noctis walk around together on a date? They can look at her wedding dress together. Like, the fact that those 2 never like directly talk, what a mistake. What were they thinking with that?
Yeah, there's some missing scenes.
I really love 15, but it definitely feels incomplete. For example, I won't spoil this for anyone who hasn't played it, but something happens to one of the brothers, and they never explain how it happened. It's a pretty important thing, and supposedly it explains it in his episode later when it comes out. But like at the time, you're like, well, how did that happen? They're like, yeah, don't worry about that anyway.
Yeah.
So there's definitely like, and again, a testament to how fun the main characters are and how good the main part of it is, because there are parts that you're like, this is incomplete completely. The music is pretty good too, and hey, the fanfare returns even when you're just making a meal at night, a Coleman sponsored camping meal.
Yeah. Your Dinty Moore kind
I
of.
wish someone would be like a cook like that on some camping trip, some backpacking trip.
Right?
Yeah.
But again, like that stuff, it made the characters memorable. You think of Prompto and, oh yeah, all the photos he takes, and then he comments on them. You think of Ignis and, that's it. I've come up with a new recipe. Like, yeah, recipe. That stuff is really memorable. So for me, 15 was really great because it was a return to form. After the letdown of 12 and especially 13, it was just like, I really thought like, oh man, have they lost their way? Like, are we never even going to get like, like just a neutral one of these again? And so it was like, oh my goodness, this is so nice. And I have to mention, the astrals or the summons are on another level. Like,
Yeah.
Ramu has never been my favorite, but when Ramu comes out and he picks you up and you got the music, ho, 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 do, sento, at the Latin choir, and he just slams the ground with Judgment Bolt and it just fries the ground. Like, it's insane. I get freaking goosebumps, like, just watching it. They've never looked so good. They looked incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's a hell of a beard.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
No, I think those are the best summons in the series.
And they did, and the fact that you couldn't control them made them feel truly special when they would come out to help you. It's just like, oh man, like, yeah, they were phenomenal. I wish we could have seen.
Yeah, I love the gameplay aspect where like they only come out in certain very particular situations.
Yeah, and they're bound to
Yeah.
the region you're in too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just great because then you can't abuse them, and then they also mean something when they come out.
And they were truly powerful.
and
Like,
the
if they
animations
came
are-
out,
oh, God.
they were dead. Yeah, unless it was like the Adamantis, pretty garbage. Which is a shame because riding up to him, you're like, holy crap, that turtle is massive, and then you get up and like you can't see anything. But the lead up is fun at least.
Ugh.
Yeah, that is the worst boss fight ever, probably.
Yeah.
the entire series, the worst boss fight. Yeah.
It might be, yeah.
Might
it,
be.
it very well might be the worst boss fight ever that they've done.
What's your number
But-
6?
All right, number 6 is Final Fantasy VIII.
That's pretty high.
So this-
That's pretty high for
Yeah.
yeah.
This one meant a lot to me. This is probably the third one I've played because I think I played 6, 7, and then 8 would have been the third one. And here's the thing too. I'll caveat this.
I love it too. Honestly, I love it.
I haven't played it since I was in middle school, so I might feel differently about it now. But here, I have really good memories of it. Here's the thing: Triple Triad is great. It's a fantastic little mini game. This is actually the game that really made me start practicing piano for the first time. There's this song, "The Oath," which I absolutely love, and I was like, I really would love to learn that, and so I would practice that on piano. So I kind of have that to thank for it. And even though I didn't really understand how the like battles and the leveling system worked at the time, I did appreciate that it was difficult because, like at the end of 7, I just Knights of the Rounded Sephiroth 2 times and he died. At the end of 6, I just spammed Ultima on Kefka and he died. So like for Ultimisia, it was like, holy cow, she's kicking my ass. That was kind of a neat little
4 battle
Right? Yeah.
stages through.
Yeah,
Kicking my ass.
she killed me, that's for sure. And I cheesed it. Like, I low-leveled the fuck out of that game, and I got my ass handed to me the first 2 times. She summoned,
Tough, man.
when Griever came out or whatever, or,
Yeah.
yeah, I got
Griever.
fucking dunked, man. I was destroyed. I was like, holy shit, I thought I was going to breeze through this shit.
It's like you've been breezing through everything else in the game, but
Yeah.
then that one is like, no, this is a
Psych.
real fight.
You're in my castle now, bitch. Yeah, I know what you mean. That
My
game's way harder.
Castle now. That's how she would say it.
Yeah.
You get you also get repeated access to the limit breaks in that game, like through the aura system. As long as you were on low health, you could just
Oh,
like cycle through your menu to just use the limit breaks over and over again. That was really
great
cool.
way to cheese that game. What a great way.
Yeah.
Right? And I
Cycling
think to
through
this,
selfies to get like a mega potion or whatever, just to
right?
completely cure up. Oh, it's great.
I think to this day, 8 still has one of the best opening cutscenes too. That the Liberi Fatali with the music playing, like in the field and Cypher and Squall fighting with the gunblades, like that's great.
It is great. It is great. And then Spoonie ruined it for me with his Final Fantasy VIII review, where he's like, "They're just sparring. They're just kids in
They're
a.
just
They're just
practicing."
kids practicing swords out in a field somewhere. They're just sparring." And yet it made it seem like it was this like world-ending.
Yeah, and one of them's
Fight.
a dick for actually hurting the other one. That's the
Right.
thing. He gets in trouble for that. Yeah, it's way better. That opening scene is way better than it really deserves. to be.
Yeah.
Like it's really good.
I think
And-
it's I think it's got a good closing cutscene too, honestly, except for the song.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm a romantic at heart, and so like to see Squall like pull Renoa in for the kiss made me all like, "Ee, oh, that's exciting." So
I just remember
I
the
like
space
that.
part, and I was like, "What the fuck am I trying to do here?" Like,
right?
I didn't see the bitch flying through space, and I'm like, "Dude, what is this? What is this?" Like, yeah, and then like something caught my eye, and I was like, "Oh my god, is she like flying? Like, am I supposed to move over and catch her?"
You
Like,
got the Lego arms on each side of the screen.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you're
And
just
then the
like
song, I
tilting
think
up
the
and
song is
down.
playing the whole time too, isn't it?
It is,
Oh
yeah.
God! So I thought it was a cutscene. I bet. And I was like, what? What is this, like the end of 7? Like we're just in space? Like you get the stars?
You just gotta line up with her. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
Also, I have to bring up a specific point. So I know you guys hate the whole thing that, like, oh, they all knew each other from they were kids and they don't remember it.
Yeah, I do.
Right?
I do hate that. Thank you
Yes,
for bringing
you
that
are
up.
right.
So I will grant you that is kind of silly. However, there is one part of it that I at least thought was an interesting idea. And I wish they had explored it more. But there is an idea that the Guardian Forces, which is this thing you've been using the whole time, and you've got junction to everybody, that their power caused you to forget your memories. And so, as a concept, I like the idea of, hey, would you, Joe, would you, Caleb, would you give up your memories and kind of who you are if it meant you could use this power? Now, unfortunately, the game doesn't really explore it a whole lot, but
There's no part where you like lose your car keys.
Yeah.
right.
Like,
Where
wait
did I
a
put those
minute.
fucking things?
Fuck, did I really have to put those where I put them before I made this oath? Couldn't I have just had them in my pocket? Oh, the only thing that sucks about that is that Kiefer Sutherland's character, the fucking gun guy, what's his name?
Cypher?
Oh, Irvin?
Irvine, yeah.
Oh, Irvine. Oh, sorry.
Irvine comes from a school that doesn't use GFs, and he also
Yeah.
went to school with you as a kid, and he didn't say a goddamn thing.
That is true. That makes no
So
sense.
he's either a dick, or he also just conveniently forgot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They should have added in a line when that part's revealed that Irvin jumps in front and goes, "Surprise!"
Yeah.
I mean, one of those great moments in my life is when Brianna Wall pretended to not remember who I was in a Barnes and Noble when that fucking bitch drunk texted me before. It's like, what are you up to? Like, blah, blah, blah. I'm drunk. Ha ha. Oh, yeah, you forgot who I am now?
Yeah.
You forgot who I am 6 months later? Thanks.
Oh, that's not even that long.
No,
yeah.
it
Irvine
wasn't-
at
it
least
wasn't
had
long
like
at all.
15 years.
God, it's just like that. Fuck.
I hate plot holes like that.
Irvine was just like, yeah, I forgot who you guys were. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I know that we and they all knew the sorceress too. She was their matron. Like, so I think it would have been cooler if they also didn't have that plot hole.
Fair
That-
enough.
That game is just a giant plot hole to me. but-
Yeah, it's got some story issues, but I still really enjoy it
Here's what
overall.
you got to do. If you're going to play it again, you crank that on and you throw on some Linkin Park, and you'll be 14 again in no time.
Oh, my God,
Awesome.
that's true.
Yeah. Just play that. Play.
It's got to be the Meteora album
Yeah.
or Hybrid Theory.
Play
You can
the
choose
first
one
two.
of those two.
Yeah.
Minutes to Midnight on. No, it's not going to work.
Minutes to Midnight. You can't. You'll be disillusioned because you'll know that it's more recent and it wasn't the primo like preteen angst that you need
Huh.
to truly experience
It's
it.
true. It's true.
There you go. 8, number 6. That's pretty high, but
Number 5, Final Fantasy 9.
All right, that's about right.
It has great, lovely, charming characters, minus kind of Quina or Amaranth. They don't get a whole lot of time, but I really love Zidane and Vivi and Dagger, Garnet, and all of them. In particular, I really like Zidane was so funny and charming and kind of a rogue.
Mhm.
That was really nice. Chocobo Hot and Cold is a great mini game. It was fun to run around and
Don't know
get all
what
the
you're talking about.
treasures.
yeah, never heard of it.
The battle system's really fun, though I agree it's pretty slow. It kind of takes forever to let the ATB bars fill up. But I do like that you learn the abilities from the items and the equipment. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's the evolution of 6s.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't like Tetramaster, their card game. I still don't even understand how to play it to this day.
Nah, you
Makes
just
no
gotta
sense
do it
to
like
me.
3 times a guess for the
Yeah.
required part, and then move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Music is of course excellent. I can play You're Not Alone on piano. That was another piece that I was like, I gotta learn to play that. That's so cool. It's a great callback Final Fantasy. I love Kuja as a villain. The trances, they're a really fun idea of the limit break. Like, it sucks that you can't control them because, again, like, someone will hit you at the very end of a battle, you'll blow your trance, and then the battle ends.
Yeah.
So that sucks. But I did like the idea that, like, they're tied to the characters' emotions, and so there's those cutscenes where the characters get super emotional and they, like, flip out and go into this trance mode, so I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, the only other game that did that was Digimon World 3, and
Oh,
I
yes.
also hated it in that game. I was like, oh, lovely. I've got my limit break. Oh, it's a good thing the next fight is the final boss. Now I'm going to have to wait even longer. That game's a worse game, though. I'll say it's worse than FF9.
It's worse than most of the
It's
Final Fantasies.
It's worse than a lot of things, actually. But
God damn it.
the okay, so what do you? The one thing that a lot of people really like FF9 for, that didn't really hit home for me was like the trying to find yourself thing. It's like the whole identity, journey in the game. Like a lot of those characters have like their identity crisis. Things like that. And I wonder if maybe that's another one like 8 with Joe where it works better when you're younger.
When you're trying to find yourself.
Yeah, when you're, when you utter ridiculous things like that in all seriousness, when you're like 16 and now it's like you think of that and you're like, that's just silly. Like, I wonder
Caleb,
if it's a time thing.
I was here the whole time.
Yeah.
This is funny, Caleb. I actually agree with you. I'm a pretty confident person in general, so it never hit me on the personal level. Like I could very much enjoy it watching these characters go through it, but I didn't relate to that. I didn't have a feeling of like I don't know who I am and I need to myself. So I agree with you that it didn't relate to me personally. But again, I think it's so well done that I enjoyed watching them do it. What did I say?
You cut out and you're like, I agree with you. I felt like
myself.
Yeah, it sounded like you said I needed to fuck myself because it's sensitive. And I never needed to myself. And then it's just a perfect cut.
Sorry.
I'm not sure what F word you were using, but I don't think it was what it sounded like. I just kind of
I think it was fined.
Oh, yeah. You sure it wasn't fuck? Because now I'm not so sure.
Oh, good. Oh, maybe it was. Maybe I knew it would cut out, and I was like, all right, I can get away with this.
Yeah, time to come out. Just how much I'm into myself. That's good. Oh man. Some of these invite episodes, like the audio issues, are like amazing. Oh,
that's. I can't wait to listen back to that. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
I guess I'll have to like carefully say my F's or something. I don't know why it keeps cutting out when I do that.
Every time you say an F.
You just did it again. When you said I have to check my F, and then half of it like went away.
Just don't say
Oh my
F.
goodness.
Don't say F. Discord doesn't understand.
Yeah, you
Right.
got like what 20 other consonants to work with.
Right. Yeah. It's not like this series uses that letter twice in its title or anything.
No.
Yeah.
What's your number 4?
Oh, real quick, one last note on 9. Again, I'm such a romantic. I love the ending where like Garnet and everyone thinks that Zidane is gone and he's in the stage play, and then he throws off the cloak and she sees him and she runs down and jumps into his arm. I love it.
So, he went there, he had to do like 6 months of rehearsal or 6
Right?
months of rehearsal, and he didn't see. He's just like, I know this is going to be my entrance. This is going to be my entrance.
Yeah, he's that much of a romantic that he's like, it's got to be perfect.
I applaud that. Okay, number 4. And this one, it really could be in its own separate section for a very specific reason. So number 4 is, I'm going to try to say this carefully so I don't cut out, Final Fantasy 14.
Hey, you got it all.
Wow.
All right.
Also really high up there. I do like that game a lot.
So here's the thing. I'm all the way through Shadowbringers. I've been playing this game since Realm Reborn. And the thing is, I love co-op. I absolutely love co-op. So again, it's kind of hard for me to even compare it to the others because I don't think of it as like a single-player Final Fantasy game. I think of it as a big co-op fun time. So again, it's kind of in its own slot. Like, so this could arguably be at the bottom because I don't view it as the others, but it's also could be at the top because again, I've played it so much. I've got thousands of hours in this game, and I played through it with a lot of different friends, and I've always had a great time. Especially after 12 and 13, it was nice to have something that honored the series so well. There's a lot of nostalgia. The music is great. The fanfare, hey, it's everywhere. And I gotta just pimp myself. I'm a top tier white mage, Rudros Caliphus. Look me up. I'm out there.
God, those white mage changes. Oof, God,
I
I
know.
was not ready for that shit when I came
I
back in
know.
last week. Oh my God, I was like, what the fuck happened to this game? What are all these abilities? Can you tell
Shadow.
me? Can you tell me what this benediction thing is? What is this stuff? What is this shit? God damn it.
Yeah, Shadowbringers was tough as a white mage because I lost a lot of fun stuff, and I was just like, man. But again, so 14, you could take it out of this list, view it however you want. Like, it doesn't compare to the others as far as a single-player Final Fantasy, but I just have so much fun with it, and I've played it so much. And again, I play it with friends. It's the game I think of that I play with my friends, and I love doing that.
That's the good part about it. That is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's why it's where it's at.
All right.
Yeah, that's fine. And honestly, you don't have to convolute it the same way we do, where we only count like Roma Born as 14. Honestly, that's kind of like dumb, but we did it once, and so we've done it forever, basically. And so
Right.
King of 14's way down there because Realm Reborn is kind of boring. But everything after that's gotten progressively better and better over time.
Yeah, Heaven's Word is great, and I like Shadowbringers too, so.
Yeah, we've heard Shadowbringers is supposed to be like top notch, so I'm excited. All right, what do you got for number 3? This is the real
top 3.
The top 3.
And I know exactly what these games are. We'll just see what the order is.
Yeah.
No surprise to anyone here. These number 3. So number 1 is defined. Number 1 is that will always be my number 1. 3 and 2, again, you could flip them on any given day. They're both fantastic games, so it just kind of depends on what day you ask me. So number 3 is Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to put that one there.
So 7 has, I mean, what can you say about 7? It has incredible characters, maybe minus Kate Sith. He's kind of the only one that doesn't stick out. The world is just excellent. The gold saucer is such a great way to spend time, and everything you do in this game is memorable. Junin Harbor, Fort Condor, Cosmo Canyon. I mean, I can just say those names, and images and music comes up to accompany each of those. This game was it was so wonderful. For the first time, limit breaks are fully realized, and they're awesome. They give the characters so much uniqueness. Cloud's are amazing, Tifa with her slots, Barrett with all his different gunplay ones. Like, yeah, they're fantastic. What more can you say about Sephiroth? One of the greatest villains in the series, has an insane theme song, which, by the way, here's some alternate lyrics to Sephiroth's theme song that I saw on a website once, and it was like, I don't know why everyone likes this song so much. The lyrics are so weird. I mean, it's bells, frogs, pink cherries, Peter Pan, magic cheese.
Damn it. All right.
Right?
That's going to be one of those things that now I'm going to hear it all the time.
Right?
Yeah.
Bells, frogs, pink cherries, Peter Pan, magic cheese.
You know that song, You Can Go Your Own Way, by
Yeah.
Fleetwood Mac? Now I hear You Can Grow Your Own Weed every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time. It's ruined the song. Every single time.
Don't think you
can
can.
grow your own weed. Grow
your
own weed.
That's hilarious.
God damn it.
It's like I could, but it is illegal.
I'm
not sure if
now I'm gonna hear Peter Pan in the middle of
Yeah.
Sephiroth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I hope I didn't ruin it. So when I played this when I was young, my buddy had a Game Shark. We actually revived Aerith, and I was so stoked about that. So I was able to get. That's how I beat the Ruby weapon the first time. Is I had Great Gospel, and it was like, "Yep, I'm immune. You can't hurt me." And we just,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, just yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. And you know what? It blew my mind because, she's obviously, so she doesn't ever say anything, but there's actually a part, if you go snowboarding at the Icicle Inn, and like the snowboard crashes at the bottom, Aerith has a line of dialogue. And I was like, what the hell? So, and supposedly, I don't know how true this is, but I heard rumors once that like there was a time that maybe she was supposed to be in the game longer and before he ultimately decided to kill her. But
I mean, they could have rearranged the snowboarding part.
yeah,
too.
that's possible too, because that happens right after she dies in the original game.
Yeah, could have happened beforehand, and then they just maneuvered some stuff around.
Yeah, I had heard that happened. I remember one of our original forum members way back in the day posted something about that, like in the Icicle Inn area. There was like a scene with Aerith if
That's
you
crazy.
cheesed it. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, it's really creepy.
Yeah.
She's here.
Yeah,
all
I
the
mean,
time.
Nibelheim, Rocket, again, just everything about this game is memorable. It's just one of those games it's just like pitch perfect in every way. The materia system is great. I can't even think of like a minor flaw I have with it. It's just so awesome. So 7 is great.
All right. What's your number 2?
Final Fantasy 6. I think I ultimately gave it to 6 just because it was the first one I played. So I think that's why I ultimately bumped it above 7. But again, I mean, they're both so great. You could flip them. Excellent characters. They all have unique battle traits. Oh, and that was something that the characters in 12 lacked. Because the characters were all the same in battle, it didn't make them stand out. Whereas like 6, Edgar has tools. Locke is the thief. Sabin has the blitzes. Cyan has the sword techniques. Even if those traits aren't necessarily great, they help define those characters. I mean,
and you do have to use them all in the final dungeon kind
yeah.
of area.
And those were such fun things to see where the characters would get split up into those parties and you'd flip back and forth. I love the Magicite system. I love that like everyone can learn magic from the Espers and you can get the Espers themselves. Kefka, the Emperor, I mean the whole world of Ruin. Again, for a long time I thought, oh, Balan, like that's the whole game. And then there's this whole world is destroyed. That's fantastic. And it's funny, everyone always talks about Celes, but I never saw that because I actually always saved Cid's life, and she won't commit suicide if you save Cid's life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. There are sick fish and there are healthy fish. If you catch the fast-moving fish and feed them to Cid, he will actually recover and live. But if you feed him the crappy fish, it kills him.
Wow.
Oh man! So she's killing herself because she killed Cid.
Yeah,
She
exactly.
was inefficient at capturing. Wow, I didn't even know that. Yeah, I had no idea.
Right?
That's
Well,
nuts. I just learned something today.
Well, it was funny. Every time I would hear you guys talk 6, and I was like, did nobody else save Cid? I guess did it.
No, man.
But yeah.
Fish. Can't catch those things.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it takes longer, so if you want to just get through it, you can just feed him whatever, but again, 6, it's so inventive and creative. Like, again, everything about this game is memorable. I think of Locke's scenario, Sabin's scenario, when the Mughals helped Terra. Who could forget the opening cutscene of them marching in the snow? Edgar telling Kefka, there's more women in here than there are grains of sand out there. Kefka's laugh. It's just everything just sticks out in your mind. It's just so fun. It's fun to play. It's a great story. It truly deserves to be the upper echelon of Final Fantasies. I can't say enough good things about it.
Great classic game. No disagreements here. I'm gonna make a guess for your number 1. Is it Final Fantasy Crystal Bearers?
How did you know? My goodness, you are good.
Great, isn't it?
Dude, when you're on that raft and you're bumping butts and it's a mini game that like Caleb didn't know he could skip, but so he kept doing it over and over again. What more could you want?
That's how powerful that.
Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I can't believe I didn't skip that. That took me so fucking long, dude. That was like hours. Like no joke. It was hours, and I was like, "How the fuck did he beat this part?" Like, you didn't even mention that part when you were raging. Like, I was like, "Where did that come from?" Did he just like channel his ability and like suddenly you could like function
my ability,
your disability? I don't know, something like you're like he's got the right level of Asperger's, and like you can fucking do it. I'm like, I don't know. You didn't say a word. And then I get in, and you're like, "Oh, you don't have to do that." What? I don't have to do that.
Right, is your number 1 Final Fantasy 11? No, you said you didn't play that. Okay, it's
I've never played it.
My Life as a Dark Lord.
Oh, you're so close. You're right there.
Yeah. All right. It's Final Fantasy 12. Revenant Wings.
Man, you should be psychics.
You also can control more than 5 characters in that one.
That is true. Oh, okay. I never played that one. So.
It's fun until it isn't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's fun until it's brutal.
It's fun until it's.
Is that the tagline on the box art?
It's
fun until it isn't. Joseph de Gaulier.
It's fun. It's fun until the last 2 areas, and then it's fuck this game. Fuck this game.
I wish they would re-release games like they do books. Like you'll get the book and it'll have like another author's like view
An
of the book.
introduction
Yeah, or
to
like an
it,
introduction, or like
or the
a
revised edition. You know, they fix some stuff.
yeah, but it has like little excerpts from reviews from it, and that could be the 12 Revenant Wings. Like it's fun until it isn't. 2 stars, 2 out of 5. That's the best review we could find.
All right, what's your number one?
So my number one, in case anyone hasn't, is Final Fantasy X.
It's a great game.
10, 6, and 7, I think will always be the trifecta of the best games in the series, unless something insane comes out in the future.
Here's hoping for
10
16.
is, yeah, you never know. So why do I love 10 so much? It has my favorite cast of characters in the series. I think it does itself a good justice by keeping it to 7 characters, and they're all very interesting. They've all got their own stories. I adore pretty much all of them. It has good villains too. Tidus, or Jecht Seymour. Yeah, I don't know why I said Tidus. I love Tidus. I know a lot of people crap on Tidus, but I love Tidus.
He is a villain as far as people trying to get into the game, and he's really trying to make sure that they don't want to play it anymore.
Yeah.
See, I never understood that. I never got why people didn't like him so much. Like, he's a little whiny, sure, but like,
he's whiny, and I can understand people not liking him. I really can. I like him a lot more on like multiple playthroughs.
Yeah, third
I
playthrough.
enjoy him a lot more on like the second playthrough, but
Yeah.
I guess my argument was always like, if you woke up in a totally different world where you knew nobody, you'd probably be kind of spazzing out too.
he has fun noises.
Yeah. So
Macarena Temple. Yeah, exactly. Jesus Christ.
So 10 has, in my opinion, the best battle system in the series, especially for being a turn-based system. Like, the fact that you can swap characters at any time. It's controlled turns, so there's no ATB, so you have infinite amount of time, which makes it really accessible for newer players too. You get to control the Aeons, like actually fight as them. And the overdrives are, in my opinion, the best version of the limit break system, because when they're full up, you don't have to use them right away. You can actually hold on to them and use them when they're most beneficial to you, and the way the gauge builds is up to you. So, like, you can make it when you attack, you can make it as a healer when you heal. Like, it's so good. And the Aeons, the design of the Aeons is some of my favorites. Their summon animations and their overdrives, like the way Shiva, she does her snap when she does her Diamond Dust, the way Ifrit launches Yuna out of the air and then catches her when he's summoned, and Bahamut's Mega Flare, like, not only does his design look amazing, but like he flips over, anchors himself into the ground, the big sun on his back starts spinning and gaining energy, and he just eviscerates people. And then you have Anima being pulled up from the ground by this chain, and she's clearly in like pain. Like, literally, the Mega Sisters are the only lame summons in that game. All the others are incredible.
Yeah, and it's funny because those are from 4. So like,
yeah, right.
They ruined it by bringing
Weird
in 4.
callback.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true. Those summons are all really fucking good. That's
yeah, I mean, like the way Yojimbo appears for the first time, Yuna throws petals, shows up, and then the shadows and like throws this cloak around him. Like, it's so cool. The world is, again, like 7 and 6. The world is not only well designed, every area is memorable. The Calm Lands, Makalania Temple, the Lightning Plains. Again, there's things to every section that make you remember them. The story revels in grief and the tragedy of Spira, but it does it in a really sharp way. Like, I generally don't enjoy stories that are overly depressing, but again, there's a sadness to it, but there's also this element of hope of like, well, no, we have to do this. We have to perpetuate this cycle of sin because, it's worth it. It's worth it for those 4 years of peace. And so it's nice to have Tidus and be like, no, that's bullshit. Like, let's just get rid of him, period. And again, I'm such a romantic, so I'll never forget Tidus and Yuna in the spring when they have their underwater moment, and
Kimari's watching him from the boat.
Yeah, Kimari's just like sitting there nodding, like, yeah Kimari, like
his small horn in his hands.
Yeah. Joe has said this and I 100% agree with him. It has the best ending in the series. When Tidus says, "I hate you, Jecht," when he's starting to disappear, and Yuna runs to grab him, and she falls through him, and Yeah, she looks up and just says, I love you, and he turns around. He can't even touch her, but he still puts his arms around her, like, and then in the next scene, she's on the dock whistling for him. Like, even though she knows he's not going to come, she's still doing it. And she says in her final address to Spira, the people we have lost are the dreams that have faded. Never forget them. Like, fuck, man. 10 is just, it has the best ending.
Yeah. What's with the final addresses? Like 10 and 12 both did that. It's like really awkward. It's like it makes
I don't know.
sense, but it's like the speech at the end of the game. You're like, is she the leader of the free world now? Like, what? Is she the president? Like, what the fuck?
Well, she is the summoner.
Yeah.
In 10.
But she was supposed to fucking die, bro. Like, no, she's like, now I'm the overlord.
I cheated death.
Well, they still know she was responsible for defeating sins. So
That's true,
I guess that.
Yeah. And then someone was like, do you want a record contract? We heard you can sing.
Yeah.
What if that was the ending scene? Someone says, by the way, I heard you can sing, and it like zooms in. And like dollar signs appear in her eyes, and you hear a cha-ching, and you hear, "What can I do for you?"
Yeah.
It
I have a great idea for a pop song.
Yeah. So the sphere grid is a great leveling system. You can customize the weapons and armor. That part's great. And I know people like to make fun of the voice acting, but if you take out the instances where it's kind of crummy, overall it's really good. And it brought the world to life in a way that the games hadn't before. And I'm not even talking like just the main story dialogue, which is great. I'm talking about the in-battle attacks. So like Tidus, when you use his overdrive, he'll say like, "I've been saving this one for you." Or Orin has one where he'll wind up his overdrive and it'll say, "Pray now." And like, that was just so cool. It was so cool to hear all that for once. So I love that aspect of it.
Dad.
Yeah, Dad. Or I mean, they even have puns in there. Like if you're playing Lulu and you use lightning on, don't look so shocked. Then zap them.
Exactly.
I'm a big fan of that stuff. Really, my only complaint is that, one, they should have just called him Tidus. For some reason, they let you name him, which then makes everyone refer to him as like, oh, the star player of the Xanarcanabes. So I don't know why they had you name him and him alone. That's kind of weird.
I still say Tidus. There's water. Tides. Tides.
However you pronounce it, yeah, I don't care. I wish the characters would call him by the name.
Yeah.
And Blitzball, I think, is a lot of fun. The other mini games are ridiculous, like the chocobo hunting and the lightning. It's all absurd, but at least it's optional. You don't have to do any of that.
Yeah, unless you're trying to go for a platinum.
Yes, in that case, you're gonna tear your hair out. But
that's right.
Minus that. So yeah, I mean, 10, 6, and 7 are all for me. Will always be in the upper echelon. 10 will always be my personal favorite, and I just couldn't say enough good things about that game.
All right. Well, now that we have your rankings, we've discussed your Final Fantasy history, and we're 2.5 hours into this episode. I think this is the longest guest episode so far.
Yeah.
Let us do Stump. Are you ready for this, Rudra?
I hope so.
Okay, we're gonna do Stump the host. Schweiss.
Ooh.
Are you ready?
I am, in fact, ready.
Okay.
So, guys, I have 5 questions pulled from my own mind.
So hopefully it's accurate.
Hopefully they're correct. But Red Rose, Ross,
Tidus
here.
Titus, whatever his name is.
Yeah. He also, he seems to know a shitload about these games, so I'm not super worried about this. Red Rose.
Uh-oh. Pressure.
Now that I've jerked off your ego, what are the names of the 3 main starting areas in Final Fantasy XI? You get the option to start from 3 main cities. What are they?
Oh, I've never played much of 11, but okay, let me see what I can remember. I know Bastok is one of them.
Okay.
Gosh. Oh, I wish you'd said 14. I would have had that in a heartbeat. So there's Bastok. That's the one where the big Gulka-looking things are from?
Yeah, that's the boring, industrious place. With Sid.
Gosh, hold on. I remember.
Hold on, let me Google this.
Yeah.
What's that? Okay, there's a wind one. It's like Wind City or Windurst. Windurst, is that one?
That is
Okay, Bastok, Windurst, and then the other one is like it's one of those words with an apostrophe in it. Sandoria, something like that. Sandoria.
Sandoria, yeah. God damn it.
What the
Was that right?
Yes.
Oh shit! Oh, I
Bastock,
mean,
Windhurst, and Sandoria. You motherfucker! God damn it! knew
I
it was
remember
like,
looking at.
he's not gonna know this because he's 11.
Well, like I said, I started a game on. Kind of remember the opening cities. I just didn't get much past that.
I think you got a friend behind you, like coughing.
Yeah, it's that.
Like,
It's
does
that.
it start with an S?
It's that guy from the fucking Magic card game or the card.
Right?
game
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Cody's back here, just like he's just shaking his head and nodding when I guess it's something.
Yeah.
You motherfucker! All right, you get one.
Good work. Yeah, that was a deep one. I'm impressed, man. All right, Joe. Who is the composer for Final Fantasy 15? What is her name?
Shit. Oh God, I have to look her up every goddamn time. Because I've talked about her quite a few times, but I don't. Her name just doesn't come to me that often. Let's see. Final Fantasy. I'm out. I don't remember. I don't remember her name.
All right, Red Rose. Do you know?
I want to. I think it's. I think she's the same lady who did Kingdom Hearts, and I hope I'm not mixing her up with somebody else. But I always kind of tie her to the Beatles because I think her first name's Yoko. Is it Yoko Shimomura?
It is. It's Yoko Shimomura.
Oh, what's it?
Remembered part of that so that I could have stolen it from you, you motherfucker again. God damn
That's
it.
that's what I think is the beat because of Yoko Ono, but I was like Yoko Shimo.
It's Yoko, but she's talented.
Yeah.
Right?
She's not making weird fucking noises.
Yeah. She's pretty good.
Oh. Yoko Ono?
No. The
Okay,
Yoko,
all right.
yeah.
Like, fuck that shit.
No.
Dude. That's the most untalented famous person of all time.
that might
I'm
actually
pretty
be
sure.
true. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
All right. So Road Rose, even though you stole that one, it's yours again. What is Waka's brother's name? Final Fantasy.
Chapu.
Chapu.
You won.
It's like they're looking at Titus and they're like, "Hey man, you kind of remind." I don't know why I went Jamaican there. Hey, you kind of remind me of Chapu, brother.
I wouldn't have gotten that one, so congratulations.
Okay, that one I knew. Yeah, I mean, 10's my favorite. So
Yeah, that one I knew too. I just remember thinking how ridiculous. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, why does that guy look exactly like Titus? Like, what are the fucking odds of that? Like, it's so bizarre.
right?
This made up like illusion version of another man looks exactly like a real person. Like, get out of here.
Well, he is a dream of the faith, so maybe like a faith saw Chapu was like, I should make a dream like
What
that
if
guy.
Titus looks different to everybody?
Oh my god, yeah, he looks like Chapu.
Whoa.
That's why Lulu's like, I don't see it, because she sees him as like, I don't know, like fucking. She looks at him and she sees like Dave Ramsey, like a bald old guy. She's like, that doesn't look like Chapu at all. Like, what are you talking about? And then like someone else sees him as Nick Cage. It's like, no, that's not Chapu. Yeah, he's a dream, and everyone has a different dream.
Joe, that is a crazy theory. That's really interesting.
It holds no water whatsoever, but yeah,
There's
it's
one
definitely
line.
a crazy theory.
There's one line that justifies it, which was Lulu saying she doesn't see it. Like,
and then him not being real.
and that too, yeah. You could go wherever you want with that. All right, so who is this?
This should be Joe's. I just answered that.
Oh
with
yeah,
me.
yeah, Joe. Okay, what is the name of the final boss in Final Fantasy X-2?
10-2's final boss is unmemorable. Unmemorabilia. That's my guess.
Okay. No. What about you? Right.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, Red Rouse.
All right, let me put on my nerd glasses here for a second. So, technically, the left battle you have in the game is against the ghost of Shuyan. However, I believe the answer you're looking for is Vagnagun.
Oh fuck! Now I remember those names.
Vegnagun, yes. Vegnagun is the final battle,
Had
but you're
no
right.
hope today. None.
Yeah, dude, you're rusty, man.
Oof, shit.
Not only do we not record at all in 2020, we haven't played these games for years.
Vegnagun. That's right.
Yeah. Crazy, but
Do you got the tiebreaker?
Yeah, I got the tiebreaker.
All right, go ahead and have him guess the tiebreaker.
What is the name of
See if we can get all 5 points.
What is the name of the final fortress in Final Fantasy XII? Like the place where you fight the final boss?
That would be the very disappointing Sky Fortress Bahamut, because the summon, I guess, was too cool to be in the game. So they're like, we'll just name the fortress after him. So yes, Sky Fortress Bahamut.
That is correct.
I would have gotten that one, you motherfucker.
Oh, really? I feel like the Vegnagun one. I almost mentioned Spoody because he calls it Vegnacock. And I think if I had mentioned that, you would have got it. But
I think we might have called it Vegnacock.
When it activates, it does protrude this very long cannon from its mouth, so that is very rad.
It's pretty sweet, yeah.
Yeah, I love phallic imagery in my bosses.
Love it, yeah.
Love it so much.
Yeah, they make they made up for it with Kuja. It's the anti-phallic imagery,
Right?
like, fucking got like a cod piece over his junk, fucking tiny. I remember thinking like, is this a chick? And then I'm like, no, he's shirtless. But it's like, I could still kind of think it's a chick though.
Schweiss, that's slightly transphobic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know,
Slightly transphobic, racist and homophobic.
Oh fuck, you're right.
Sorry.
Definitely racist though. Only a little bit of the others. Yeah.
Depends on how you use commas in a sentence.
That's right. Yeah, it
Doesn't
depends.
it?
Oxford comma honestly should be the standard. So fuck that
Should be
review.
the standard. What the fuck is up with people who don't like the Oxford comma? Go fuck yourselves, you motherfuckers.
Yeah, I get it for like the end because it's implied that, you know, you're saying I love beer, wine, you know, vodka.
I love beer, wine, and sleep. But you don't like. I like beer, wine, and sleep.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
But
Put
it's-
the comma in there. God damn it.
Yeah, it's dumb not to. It doesn't take time. You just
I had
slap
one
it.
English teacher who told me to use the comma. One English teacher told me not to use the comma, and it took until like 4 years ago for me to look this shit up, because someone was trying to like correct me on something, and I was like, "You motherfuckers, you people who don't use the Oxford comma."
Yeah, it's just it looks wrong. It's like why would you just get lazy at the very end? It's like it's like you worked really really hard on this thing and then at the end you're like, fuck it, I'm just done. Like, but you were doing so good for so long and now you're like, no, it's fine. It's done. Now it's set in stone. I
Are
printed
these
it.
list items, or are they separate, or are they together?
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Good Final Fantasy talk.
Yeah,
going on
yeah,
right here.
good English language talk.
That's how you know
What?
that we are finishing up.
What's the deal with Oxford commas?
That's the deal with Oxford commas. Hey, that's a pretty good Jerry Seinfeld.
Thanks, I just tried it.
All right. Well, Rudrose, thank you for coming on. Thank you for your support. Thank you for finding the show. And sorry that it took so much to get you on here. We were just very disorganized.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. If I can do my little send-off, major thanks to both of you for not only providing so many hours of entertainment, but allowing me to come on here and just spew Final Fantasy knowledge at you for 2 hours. I really appreciate that, and I've been looking forward to this a long time, and it was just great to talk to both of you. You are both excellent hosts. You're hilarious, and I hope you have success in anything you do, and I can't wait to hear more. If I can do a little plug for myself,
Absolutely.
if anyone wants to go to backtothegaming.com, it's like Back to the Future, but Back to the Gaming, I write articles on there for the Final Fantasy trading card game. And there's also a YouTube channel called Mysidia Gaming, based off of Mysidia from Final Fantasy IV. And you can see videos of me doing card reviews on there as well. My name's Travis Pfeiffer. That's my actual real name. You can follow me on Twitter at @Marvels_the. The tag is the Modern Marvels. And yeah, thank you boys so much. You're both fantastic, and I had a real great time, and it was a real pleasure to be on here. So you have my sincerest gratitude.
Well, I think we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, man. Thanks for hanging out, and
Absolutely.
we'll see everyone next time.
Enjoy
The
grind.
Grind.
Yeah, it's the only time we've ever done that. A little
Well, I was
trade-off.
waiting for you. Were just like, let's stop. And I was like, Schweiss, are you going to say the fucking line?
Yeah.
He said nicely. Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Guys, thank you so much. I hope that I apologize. That was
It's like 2 a.m. for you, isn't it?
yeah, but it's fine. I'm not working right now.
All right, that's good. I guess you're web developing now, huh?
Exactly.
That's right. All right. Well, now that we know that you're Modern Marvel on Twitter,
Yeah.
you probably told me that in our little chat, but I didn't remember. That makes sense now. Hell, thank you.
No, thank you.
And thank you guys for hanging out on Twitch. We're gonna go ahead and shut this baby off.
Yeah, I'll see you guys later.